Chapter 88. Take it out and let me see. Suru smiled. Chu Li opened the box, and a delicate fragrance filled his nose. It was a perfume used to prevent moisture. Ordinary people could not afford to use it. Many scrolls were stacked in the box. Chu Li carefully took one out and slowly unfolded it. A white-eyed yellow tiger appeared on the paper, roaring at the sky. Chu Li exclaimed, "Nice!" Looking at the painting, it was as if a real tiger was roaring in front of him. He felt a chill down his spine. Shui glanced at it curiously, and her expression changed. Chu Li turned to look at her and smiled. "You don't have enough courage. You need to train." Shui suppressed her fear and looked at it again. Her expression changed again. It was as if a tiger pounced on her and wanted to devour her. Fear came from the heart. It was involuntary and uncontrollable. Suru smiled. "All right, don't scare me." Chu Li turned and smiled. "Shui, you need to train your courage. Hang this painting on the wall and come here every day to look at it." Shui hesitated. "Do I really have to hang it?" Chu Li pointed at a painting of a crane and pine. "Hang it there." The painting of a crane and pine was hung on the north wall. It was facing the entrance of the main hall. Shui looked at Suru helplessly. Suru said, "Chu Li, are you crazy?" Chu Li said, "This is good for her. With such courage, if she really goes out and meets some vicious people, she won't be able to use her martial arts no matter how strong she is." "That's true." Suru thought for a while and nodded. The people in the martial arts world outside were all vicious. They would say all kinds of malicious things. Not to mention that Shui's martial arts was not good. Even if she was good, she would not be able to use it if she was timid. It was too dangerous. Shui pouted and reluctantly took down the painting of a crane and pine and hung it carefully. Chu Li stood at the door with his hands behind his back. He instructed her to adjust it and hang it properly. At first glance, it looked like a tiger standing there. Suru smiled. "Shui, how's your martial arts training?" Shui smiled. "Much better." "That's good." Suru smiled. "It's a blessing to have a master like Chu Li to guide you. You have to cherish this opportunity." Shui glanced at Chu Li and nodded lightly. Chu Li opened another scroll. It was a painting of a ferocious tiger hunting a goat. Its fur billowed like a tide. Its teeth were sharp like awls, emitting a cold glint, and its eyes were cold and merciless. It really had the power to swallow everything in its mouth. He shook his head and sighed in admiration. As expected of Lu Buiyuan, not only was Lu Buiyuan's painting vivid, but more importantly, it contained a trace of spiritual energy. Chu Li speculated that this painter was either an enlightened master or he had entered the path of Taoism through painting and had touched upon a trace of Taoist rhythm. Letting Shui observe him from time to time would not only increase his courage, but it would also boost his spirit. It would be extremely beneficial. The stronger one's mental strength was, the longer one could maintain their mental cultivation method, and the faster one's inner force could circulate. This was also the key to advancing to the next realm. Suru sat at the side, looking at his intoxicated expression. She could not help but smile. The young miss had the same reaction when she saw these paintings, but she herself couldn't do the same. When she saw these paintings, she would tremble in fear. There was nothing beautiful about them. Chu Li looked at the paintings one by one, and looked at all 10 of them. It was as if he had eaten a sumptuous meal. He put them back into the box with satisfaction, and smiled. "This is a wonderful work of art." "Your painting is not bad." Suru smiled. "I see that your painting of spirit herbs is very profound. I'm still far from it. I don't have a master to guide me, so I didn't get the hang of it. What a pity. If there's a chance, I must become the disciple of a master and learn from him. There's a master in the public house. Who? Chuli quickly asked. The second lady. Suru smiled. The second lady has become the disciple of Master Han Shi. You know of Master Han Shi, right? Chu Li was surprised. The second lady is the disciple of Master Han Shi? Master Han. She was one of the top painters of the current generation. He was an expert in mountains and rivers. He had a mind of 10,000 miles of rivers and 10,000 miles of mountains and rivers. His paintings allowed people to immerse themselves in it. It was a top-notch art that cultivated the mind and was sought after by countless people. Master Han, she stayed in the public house for 5 years. Suru tilted her head and thought for a while. At that time, the second lady was 13. After that, Master Han, she said that he had nothing more to teach, so he left. Chuli said, I heard that Master Han, she has a strange temper. He never takes in disciples and doesn't see outsiders. Master Han, she lived deep in the mountains. One time, when he went out to collect herbs, he was bitten by a poisonous snake. Coincidentally, the second lady passed by and saved him. So, he taught the second lady for 5 years to repay the favor. Chuli was surprised and smiled. The second lady is really lucky. The second lady's luck is really good. Suru sighed. It's a pity that she can't practice martial arts. Why? Her body is weak and can't handle inner energy. Suru shook her head. She was born in the womb. There's nothing she can do about it. She gets sick from time to time. What a pity. There's not much hope for you to learn painting from the second lady. It's better to practice martial arts first. Chuli smiled. That's true. I'm leaving. Suru waved her hand and slowly left. The moonlight was like water. The night breeze blew through the green bamboos, making a soft, rustling sound. Chuli sat in the pagoda, motionless like a statue. In the void of his mind, a silver-white tiger seemed to come alive. It roared from time to time and practiced the postures of the sun, cultivating white tiger portrait. His mind moved slightly, and the 10 tiger portraits that he saw during the day appeared in his mind. The white tiger pounced on one of the portraits, like a drop of water falling into a puddle. The white tiger disappeared into the portrait. After a while, the portrait exploded and disappeared. The white tiger leaped out, adding a touch of charm. The white tiger shattered all 10 portraits one by one and underwent a complete transformation. It was as agile as a real tiger. Chuli's mind entered the tiger. He felt calm and indifferent. He was fearless. He split a part of his spirit to observe his body. The power that flowed from the void was changing his body. It was as if his body was immersed in medicine, constantly changing. When he woke up, the sky was bright. Unknowingly, a night had passed. His body became more compact and strong. He clenched his fists and felt the increase in strength. The effect was obvious. He got up and started to practice the sentient menace. His breath flowed, and he made great progress. Xue was also practicing the 8 forms of crescent cryptic. After she was done, she started to make breakfast. Chu Li was eating breakfast in the main hall with his back facing the door. Xue stood beside him. He could only face the north wall, facing the tiger portrait. She knew that Chu Li did it on purpose. She looked helpless. When Chu Li finished eating, she was already drenched in sweat. Her clothes were almost soaked. She cleaned up the dishes and hurried back to the house to take a shower. For the next few days, Chu Li stayed in the courtyard as if he never came back. He never left the hospital. If there was anything, he would ask Xue to do it. He focused on practicing the sentient menace. He wanted to reach the 3rd level within a month. Ever since he had seen Lu Buiyuan's painting, The power of the sun cultivating white tiger portrait had increased tremendously. The advancement of the sentient menace had also sped up. However, he also had a vague feeling that cultivating the sentient menace and the sun cultivating white tiger portrait together would be a huge problem in the future. After practicing the art of white tiger, the speed of practicing the sentient menace was faster. However, there was a subtle change in his state of mind. He did not break away from the tiger's state of mind. Practicing the sentient menace again was like throwing a torch into a pot of boiling oil. When he was cultivating, he relied on the omniscient mirror to suppress the killing intent. He was not affected by it. However, this was a forced suppression. It was not eliminated. Once the omniscient mirror stopped, the killing intent would boil again. Shui began to chant Buddhist scriptures again. She used Buddhist scriptures to eliminate the killing intent. When Chu Li was cultivating, she had to chant Buddhist scriptures. Chu Li used Buddhist scriptures to eliminate the killing intent and restore his state of mind. However, after cultivating every day, he had to chant Buddhist scriptures to eliminate the killing intent. This took up his cultivation time and made him anxious. It was a pity that he could not cultivate the Mahavairocana's demon suppression scripture. The Mahavairocana's demon suppression scripture was imparted. He could not learn it no matter what. He could only use the stupid method and waste time. Fortunately, he had the omniscient mirror. When he felt that something was wrong, he immediately calmed down. The killing intent could not control him. Otherwise, he would not dare to continue cultivating. One day, Suru came over to check on the growth of the Glory's Will tree and other spirit herbs. Chu Li took the opportunity to ask, "Chief, there are still many paintings hidden in the public house, right?" "Yes." Suru was wearing an apricot gown. She looked away from the Glory's Will tree and looked up at him. "Why, do you want to see more paintings?" Chu Li smiled. "I want to see something that cultivates one's temperament and nourishes one's mind." Suru asked, "Nourishes one's mind?" Chu Li said, "Cultivating the sentient menace is too vicious. I want to adjust it." Suru stopped smiling. "Why, is there a problem?" Chu Li waved his hand and smiled. "It's not a big problem. I just need to adjust my state of mind. Do you have Master Han Shi's paintings?" "Yes, there are a few," Suru said, "but they are the second lady's. I'll borrow them from the second lady." "Thank you, Chief." Chu Li fist saluted and smiled. Suru looked at him. Seeing that his state of mind did not seem to be affected, she could not hide her worry. Chu Li sighed. "It's a pity that I can't learn painting from the second lady. You should just give up on this idea." Suru said, "The second lady is different from the lady. The lady is cold on the outside, but warm on the inside. She looks cold, but is actually easy to talk to. The second lady is warm on the outside, but cold on the inside. She looks gentle and kind, but no one can get close to her. She usually doesn't leave the house and doesn't meet outsiders. I'll go and ask if I can borrow it." She stood up and left after she finished speaking. After a while, she came back with a long white wooden box and handed it to Chu Li. "I borrowed it. It's filled with Master Han Shi's paintings. There are a total of 8 of them. Be careful." Chu Li quickly opened it and carefully took one out. A landscape painting came into view. The dark green mountain peak faintly revealed a corner of the house. Chu Li felt inexplicably at ease. He smiled, and the restlessness in his heart dissipated. "How is it? It's a masterpiece indeed." Chu Li praised. 1 month. "Don't break it," Suru reminded. Chu Li smiled. "Don't worry, Chief." Suru was worried. "These are the second lady's treasures. If you break them, who knows what will happen?" Chu Li smiled. "The second lady is very generous." Chapter 89. A bright moon hung in the sky. Its moonlight was cool. Chu sat on a small boat. The moonlight shone on the surface of the lake. Shui sat on the other side of the boat. Chu sat cross-legged, with a guzheng on his lap. Beside him was a white jade cup. The golden wine in the cup swayed along with the boat. Psong, psong. Chu plucked the strings. Shui's thin eyebrows furrowed. She could not bear it. Chu's guzheng was too harsh. It was not in tune at all. It was obvious that he had not received any professional training. Chu was enjoying himself. He had learned calligraphy and painting in the temple, but not the guzheng. He watched Xiao Qi play the guzheng during the day. He was suddenly interested. The moonlight, the lake, the beauty, and the wine. It was elegant to play the guzheng under such a beautiful scenery. Unfortunately, no matter how talented he was, he could not play the beautiful guzheng. It was harsh and unpleasant. Chu smiled. He thought it was interesting. Shui felt that it was a wet blanket. She could not stand the noise. She quickly got up and said, "Master, let me do it." Chu looked up and smiled. "I know how to play the guzheng? I know a thing or two." "All right, you do it." Chu pushed the guzheng. It was as if an invisible hand was holding it. It gently floated in front of Shui. Shui took it and let out a long sigh. Her ears did not have to suffer anymore. "What song would you like to listen to, Master, as long as it suits the scenery?" Chu smiled lazily. He looked up at the night sky. The night was quiet, and the surroundings were quiet. The Jade Guardian Island was brightly lit, but here it was very quiet. He came here to adjust his mood to deal with the murderous intent of the sentient menace. Adjusting one's mind was like tuning the strings. The sound of the guzheng spread in the quiet night and spread far along the surface of the water. The protectors of the island of Jade Guardian heard the sound of the guzheng, but they did not say anything. Chu was the lady's confidant. As long as he did not go overboard, they would turn a blind eye and pretend that they did not see or hear anything. Chu closed his eyes and swayed his body. He listened to the guzheng. His mind was lively and relaxed. Once again, he visualized the sun cultivating white tiger portrait in his mind. A ferocious tiger flashed in his mind, as if it had jumped out of thin air. It made all sorts of postures, and a turbulent force came from the night sky and poured into his body. The sound of the guzheng was faint. Shui lowered her head and concentrated on playing the guzheng, revealing her snow-white neck. Suddenly, Chu slowly floated up and sat a foot above the ground. His green robe fluttered even though there was no wind. Shui noticed that something was amiss, but she was not surprised. Her hands did not stop moving, gently and slowly plucking the strings of the guzheng. In the midst of the clanging sound, Chu's green robe fluttered even more violently, like a violent gale blowing. Shui sat opposite him, but she felt the gentle night breeze blowing on her face like a caress. After an hour, Shui was still gently plucking the strings of the guzheng. Her bright eyes were fixed on Chu. He looked serene, as if he was in a deep sleep. However, he was sitting cross-legged in the air. Phew! Chu suddenly let out a soft whistle. The whistling sound echoed throughout the entire public house. Shui's bright eyes flashed. She felt that there was a vague shadow of a fierce tiger flashing on his body. It only flashed twice, and then disappeared. It made her wonder if her eyes were playing tricks on her. Chu opened his eyes. His body floated down to the small boat and slowly practiced the 72 forms of the sentient menace. Seeing this, Shui knew that he was at a critical juncture. Her hands were sore, but she still insisted on playing the guzheng. Amidst the faint sound of the guzheng, Chu practiced it twice and slowly stopped. Suddenly, his body emitted a golden light. The golden light suddenly retracted and completely absorbed into Chu Li's body, disappearing without a trace. He returned to his appearance of not knowing martial arts. Xueling, thank you. Chu Li sat cross-legged and picked up the white jade cup to take a sip of wine. He smiled. The sound of the gouging suddenly stopped. Xueling's hands left the strings and trembled slightly. Master, have you mastered it? I've entered the first level. Chu Li smiled and nodded. Xueling's cold face showed a trace of a smile. Congratulations, Master. You've contributed a lot. I'll help you tonight. Chu Li smiled. If it wasn't for the sound of her zither, which had completely emptied his mind, he wouldn't have advanced to the next level while cultivating the sun-cultivating white tiger portrait. As he entered the first level of the sun-cultivating white tiger portrait, the third level of the sentient menace was completed. He had mastered the tendon cultivation and stepped into the meridian cultivation level. Success in training tendons allowed his strength to double, giving him immense strength. Xueling did not say anything. She only looked at him curiously. Lend me a hand. Xueling did not quite understand. It's almost midnight. Shouldn't you be channeling? Xueling looked up at the moon. Are we going back? Let's do it here. Chu Li got up and sat in the middle of the boat. He pointed to the opposite side. Sit here with your back facing me. Xueling was curious, but she did not ask. She got up and pushed the gouging away. She came to the opposite side of Chu Li and turned around. She sat down with her back facing him. A delicate fragrance entered his nose. Her beautiful back entered his eyes. Chu Li avoided her slender waist and round butt. I'll help you channel and relax. Xueling was getting more and more curious. Chu Li placed both of his palms on her back. Pure inner energy entered her body through his palms and circulated according to the heart technique of the crescent cryptic. Xueling felt the flow of Chu Li's inner energy and was amazed. The speed of his inner energy circulation was too fast. The circulation of the crescent cryptic was flawless. The speed was more than 10 times faster. It was like the difference between walking and riding a horse. Her dantian felt sore and swollen after a while. Chu Li slowly retracted his hand. Practice it again. Xueling channeled. Her inner energy was not sluggish at all. It was as if she was cultivating on her own. It quickly circulated one round along her meridian. One night of cultivation was equivalent to a month of her cultivation. She turned her head and stared at Chu Li with her eyes wide open. The two of them were very close. She felt Chu Li's breath and felt uncomfortable. She quickly moved her body. She could not wait to ask, Master, are you always channeling this fast? Yes. Is this the difference between a genius and a mediocre person? Not only that, Chu Li smiled. The speed of the inner energy, the width and toughness of the meridian, the capacity of the dantian, and a person's comprehension are all related to many aspects of cultivation. Lady Sio said that my aptitude is mediocre. Is it really that bad? Lady Sio won't lie. I used to think that hard work can make up for my lack of talent, but Xueling shook her head lightly. Her eyes were blank. Working hard is better than not working hard. Xueling scoffed. My cultivation for a month is only equivalent to 1 day of master's cultivation. No matter how hard I work, she shook her head helplessly. She was dispirited. Your aptitude is mediocre, but your luck is good. Chu Li smiled. If you were lazy, I wouldn't help you. So it's right to say that hard work can make up for your lack of talent. Xueling, work hard. Xueling calmed herself down and pursed her lips. I won't give up. For the rest of the night, Chu Li helped her cultivate. The cultivation of the crescent cryptic was difficult. Xue Ling's spiritual energy was not strong enough, so it was very difficult for her to cultivate. However, it was not a problem for Chu Li. His progress was surprisingly fast. Other than the crescent cryptic, Chu Li also taught her the minute pulse cleansing technique. He channeled the spiritual energy of plants into her body to circulate the minute pulse cleansing technique. This strengthened her meridian so that it could withstand Chu Li's vigorous channeling. Chapter 90. With Chu Li's two-pronged help, Xue Ling quickly broke through the opening meridian channel and reached the breaking acupuncture point boundary. The crescent cryptic was very powerful, and the breaking acupuncture point boundary was not weak. It could even defeat a rank 8 protector. During the day, other than practicing the crescent cryptic 8 forms, Xue Ling had also chosen a palm technique, the dark cryptic palm. It was also a top-notch martial art. The power of top-notch martial arts was strong, but it was not easy to cultivate. It required a better comprehension. Xue Ling's comprehension was average, but with Chu Li around, he would give her pointers and sparring with her from time to stimulate her comprehension, so she cultivated very quickly. Before reaching the innate mastery's boundary, Xue Ling could not unleash the full power of the Dark-Yin palm. She could only focus on the essence of the Dark-Yin palm. There was a trace of cold poison on her palm. Once touched, the cold qi would invade and destroy the yin and yang qi in the opponent's body. When one reached the innate realm, one's inner force could be transmitted through objects, and that was when the dark yin palm would reveal its true power. The mysterious yin palm, combined with the crescent cryptic chant, was a combination of extreme yin and extreme coldness. Its power was astonishing. Even those who were stronger than her might not be able to withstand it. Only those who had cultivated the heart technique of extreme yin and extreme yang could withstand it. Chu Li had the intention to train her, so naturally he would not let her have an easy time. After eating in the morning, she strolled around for an hour before starting to cultivate. She used the dark yin palm to spar with Chu Li, and Chu Li used all kinds of martial arts to feed her. He had memorized many top-notch martial arts in his mind. He took them out and practiced them one by one. Even though he was not familiar with them and his power was greatly reduced, Xue Ling still could not block them. She was either hit by punches or kicks, stabbed by swords, or slashed by swords. Even if the sword was made of wood, it would not feel good if it landed on her body. Chu Li hardened his heart and used quite a bit of strength in his hands. She would be in pain for half a day if she was hit by the sword. He had stimulated her potential. Xue Ling clenched her teeth and persevered. She had an obsession in her heart. She wanted to master the unparalleled martial arts and defeat the masters of the martial arts world. All this while, she had been training hard alone, but the results were minimal. Her improvement was minimal, and she had lost all confidence. The only thing that kept her going was her obsession. Now that Chu Li was giving her pointers wholeheartedly, she knew that this was a rare opportunity. No matter how much pain and suffering she had to endure, she had to grab hold of this opportunity and cultivate fiercely. The crescent cryptic progressed by leaps and bounds. Her meridians became tougher and her inner energy flowed more smoothly and quickly. Her subtle understanding of the dark yin palm gradually deepened. She felt that she was being reborn every day, despite the unbearable pain. She still desperately cultivated every day. Chu Li had a whole new level of respect for her. He thought that she wouldn't be able to endure it for more than a few days, and that she would give up. He didn't expect her to become more courageous the more she suffered. She was a cultivation fanatic. A month passed by quickly. Chu Li guessed that the second lady would be departing soon. He did not know the exact time, but he guessed that it would not be long. Startling Cloud faction of Yunzhou City, the Su family mansion, was shrouded in a gloomy atmosphere. Protector Su Anxiao and Zhang Gongming were sitting in the main hall. They did not say a word, and an oppressive atmosphere enveloped the main hall. Bang! The door to the hall was pulled open, and the hall master of the Thunder Hall, Hu Hai, strode in. His fat and muscular body was light and agile. He sat down on the armchair, causing the armchair to creak. Motherf asterisk cur. Hu Hai gritted his teeth. It must be the equal of Heaven Association. Hall master, what's the point of saying this now? Su Anxiao looked at him, snappily. Su Anxiao was young, and normally did not dare to be so rude to Hu Hai. Now that he was holding back his anger, he was on the verge of exploding. Hu Hai glared at him and snorted, "It's all because you guys are useless." Su Anxiao gritted his teeth and remained silent. Zhang Gongming's handsome face was gloomy. He stroked his beard and sighed. "We have indeed failed in our duties. We could not stop him. Only one person." Hu Hai asked, "Is there really only one person?" "Yes, this person's movement technique is extremely fast, and his palm energy is extremely strange." Zhang Gongming stroked his beard and frowned. "I don't think I've heard of such a palm technique. Inner energy like fire." He recalled the scene from before. A blue silhouette appeared in front of him, and he hastily struck out with his palm. The opponent's palm energy was like lava rushing into his body. His meridians were instantly burned, and his inner energy could not stop it. He allowed it to wreak havoc in his body, and he was injured in an instant. In the blink of an eye, this silhouette broke through the two's defense and hit the association leader's back. The association leader immediately fainted and had not woken up. The startling
He had
Cloud
taken
Association
all kinds of
was
spirit
in
medicine,
jeopardy, but there was
Hu Hai
no
frowned.
effect.
That's
He was
strange.
very worried that
Where did
no
this
one would
master
be able
come
to
from?
stop such a
Su
master from
Anxiao
entering
said,
the ascending
"How
Cloud
could such a
town.
master be unknown?
No matter which faction
He must
it
be a
was,
famous
with such a master, it would be
Sigh.
a great
Hu
threat."
Hai sighed.
"I don't know if the association leader can survive this. The startling Cloud Association is really unlucky."
Sigh.
Zhang Gongming stroked his beard and shook his head. His face was pale. The few of them took turns to treat the association leader's injuries. They used their inner energy to suppress the boiling inner energy, but they could only suppress it. They could not expel it. Her injuries were getting worse. If this went on, the association leader might die. Su Anxiao frowned. "It's a pity that we can't find Master Li. Only the association leader knows how to contact Master Li." Zhang Gongming shook his head. "The most important thing now is to find a way to wake the association leader up, even if it's just for a while." Hu Hai frowned. "Otherwise, the startling Cloud Association will be finished." He felt that only Master Li could possibly stop that person. Otherwise, even if the association leader was cured, they would still not be able to escape from that person's hands. "I have an idea," Zhang Gongming pondered, "but it won't help Lady Qi's injuries. I'm just afraid. Let's use your idea. Look at the situation now. Elder Zhang, you're still being so clingy." "It's decided," Hu Hai interrupted him. "You're looking for a way out of death. Hurry up." Su Anxiao stared at Zhang Gongming. "Guardian Zhang, could it be?" "I can't guarantee it." Zhang Gongming sighed. "I'll bear all the responsibility," Hu Hai said loudly. "Don't be so wishy-washy. Even if the association leader is awake, she'll agree with my decision. Hurry up, Elder Zhang." "All right." Zhang Gongming nodded slowly. The three of them entered the bedroom. Yu Er was sitting in front of the bed. Chun Siu was lying quietly on the bed. Her face was bare, and her expression was serene. Her face was flushed as if she was drunk. Her breaths were rapid, and her chest was heaving up and down violently. Yue stared at her anxiously and worriedly. From time to time, she would dip the warm towel in the water to cool it down and place it on her forehead. Chun Siyu's breath was scorching hot. Hu Hai said, "Miss Yue, we'll think of a way to wake the association leader up." Yes. Yue stood up and gave way. Hu Hai looked at Zheng Gongming. "Elder Zheng." Zheng Gongming hesitated for a moment and said slowly, "Now that things have come to this, we can only do this." He stood on the bed and adjusted his breathing for a moment. Then he slowly pressed his index finger on Chun Siyu's forehead and did not move. Everyone in the room stared at him with their eyes wide open. Their breathing became lighter, and they did not dare to make a sound. After about 10 minutes, Zheng Gongming's face was pale, and he let go of his hand. He staggered backward, and Su Onxia quickly held him up. Hu Hai quickly asked, "How is it, Elder Zheng? Did you succeed?" "The association leader will wake up soon." Zheng Gongming forced a smile. "But she won't be awake for too long. Her injuries will rapidly worsen, and she won't be able to hold on for long." I understand. Hu Hai quickly said, "The association leader will find a way." Suddenly, a soft moan came from Chun Siyu's mouth. She slowly opened her eyes and looked at everyone blankly. They gathered in front of the bed and stared at her nervously. "Miss, you're awake." Yue cried tears of joy. Chun Siyu frowned slightly and looked at her. Then she looked at Hu Hai and the other two people beside the bed. "Clan leader, Guardian Zheng, Guardian Su, am I injured?" "Association leader, your injury is very serious. Can Masterly cure it?" "Who is that person? I can't find out." Hu Hai shook his head in shame. "That guy seems to have popped out from a rock. There's no news about him at all. We can't stop him. If there's a next time," he smiled bitterly, "we can only ask Masterly to help us." Chun Siyu gently nodded. "Yue, Miss." Yue wiped her tears. "Jewelry box." Chun Siyu's breath was weak, but her words were clear. "Yes, Mississippi." Yue quickly got up and took out a red sandalwood box. The outside was carved with patterns. It was simple and gorgeous. "Guardian Su." Su Onxia quickly said, "Yes, association leader." Chun Siyu said, "There's a silver bracelet in the jewelry box. It's engraved with Master Li's address. Take the silver bracelet to Master Li and leave the rest to him." "Yes, association leader." Su Onxia quickly nodded and looked at Yue. Yue opened the jewelry box and took out a pair of silver bracelets for him. Chun Siyu looked at Hu Hai and Zheng Gongming. "Clan leader, Guardian Zheng, when Masterly comes back, listen to him." "Yes, association leader," the two of them said in a deep voice. Chapter 91. Su Onxia looked at the bracelet and saw a few engravings on the inside of the bracelet. He channeled his energy to his eyes and saw that the engravings were small words: Chongming Town's Jing and Fong, Chun residence. If one did not look closely, they would think that it was the ornamentation of the bracelet. Su Onxia looked at Chun Siyu, who had fainted, and then looked at Yue. Yue whispered, "Guardian Su, please invite Master Chun Li over as soon as possible." "All right." Su Onxia nodded and looked at Hu Hai and Zheng Gongming. "Guardian Zheng, clan leader, I will leave now." Hu Hai said, "Xiao Su, you have to dress up." "Yes, I understand." Su Onxia said. He strode out of the bedroom and returned to his house. He messed up his hair and changed into a tattered gray robe. Unlike his usual obsession with cleanliness, he smeared a layer of dust on his face so that others could not see his true face. He sneaked out of the house and went to the cattle and horse market in the town to buy a horse. He galloped for a day and entered Chongming Town in the evening. He found a house according to the address and stood outside the house. The house was old and ordinary. It was obviously a middle-class family. He took a deep breath and suppressed his anxiety and exhaustion. He went forward and knocked on the door. Soon, an old man popped his head out and looked at him in confusion. "Old man, is this the Chun residence?" "Yes." The old man looked at him. "I am looking for Chun Li, Master Chun. This is the token." Su Ansha handed over a silver bracelet. The old man took the silver bracelet and closed the door. "All right, please wait for a moment, Master." Time passed slowly, bit by bit. Su Ansha anxiously stomped his feet. He saw that the surrounding lanterns were lit and the street was shrouded in light. There was still no movement inside. He wondered if the association leader had made a mistake. Time passed like a year, but the door was not opened. It was as if he had forgotten about himself. He stomped his feet and paced back and forth. The association leader's situation was critical. If they used the method of stimulating his potential to wake the association leader up, his injuries would rapidly worsen, and they would not be able to save him. If he delayed any longer, he was afraid that he would not be able to see the association leader for the last time. He could not wait to break into the Chun residence, grab Master Chun Li's collar, and bring him back to the startling Cloud Association. He still had some rationality left, so he endured. Creak. The small door opened, and the old man walked out. He handed a pair of silver bracelets to Su Ansha. "My young master already knows. Little brother, you can go back now." He turned around and was about to close the door. Su Ansha hurriedly said, "Elder, wait." The old man turned his head to look at him. Su Ansha looked at the pair of silver bracelets on his wrist and frowned. "Where is young Master Chun?" "Oh, my young master has left. Gone." Su Ansha hurriedly asked, "Where did he go?" "Wherever you want my young master to go. He will go." The old man smiled and said, "All right, young man, you can go back." Su Ansha frowned at him. The old man waved his hand, turned around, and closed the small door. Su Ansha looked down at the two silver bracelets and realized that they were a pair. He hurriedly took out his other bracelet and patted his forehead. He didn't realize that the original pair of bracelets wasn't a pair. He was still on tenterhooks, unsure if this cousin young master had really gone to this startling Cloud Association. But now that things had come to this, it meant that he had found the right person. As such, he could only return and not charge in. Thinking of this, he turned around and left the Chun residence. He leaped over the city wall, found his horse, and galloped back. Startling Cloud Association in Cloud State Town. The bedroom of the Su residence was brightly lit, and the air was cold. Under the illumination of the light, a few copper basins on the floor were filled with ice cubes. The ice cubes sparkled, turning the bedroom into an ice house. It was so cold, but Zheng Gongming and Hu Hai were sweating profusely, and their faces were pale. Zheng Gongming stood next to the couch, while Hu Hai sat on it. His hands were pressed against Chun Siyu's back. White steam was rising from the top of his head, and his forehead was dripping with sweat. Chun Siyu's eyes were closed, and she was motionless. She was unconscious. Her face was as red as a cooked prawn, and her breath was scorching hot. Yu Er twisted the silk handkerchief forcefully. The veins on her hands were visible, and she anxiously stared at Chun Siyu. If this went on, Miss Chun would definitely be burnt. "Elder Zheng, how is it?" Hu Hai wiped the sweat from his forehead. He was flustered and asked in a low voice. Zheng Gongming was motionless. White steam was rising from the top of his head, and his long robe was soaked. Hu Hai was so anxious that he grimaced. He felt powerless. This damned palm technique was too powerful. They could not do anything. They had tried all kinds of miraculous pills, but it was useless. They could only watch the association leader slide into the abyss of death. Clan leader Yu Er turned her head and looked at Hu Hai pleadingly. Hu Hai shook his head bitterly and sighed. Yu Er bit her lower lip, and her eyes were red. A green shadow flashed, and Chu Li appeared in front of the couch. Yu Er widened her eyes and exclaimed, "Master Chen Siyu." Chu Li nodded at her and smiled at Hu Hai. He reached out his hand and grabbed Chen Siyu's burning wrist. His eyebrows immediately furrowed. Hu Hai did not have the time to be surprised by Chu Li's light body technique. He quickly asked, "Master Chen Siyu, can she still be saved?" Chu Li put down her wrist. "Let's try. Elder Zheng," Hu Hai quickly called. Zheng Gongming opened his eyes and nodded weakly. He let go of his palms and left the couch to make room. "Thank you for your hard work, Guardian Zheng," Chu Li said. Yu Er held on to Chen Siyu. Chu Li sat behind her and placed his palms on her back. A trace of inner energy was injected and then split into two. A trace of inner energy was directed at the burning aura in Chen Siyu's body, and a trace of inner energy followed the heart technique of the crescent cryptic. The crescent cryptic was extremely yin and cold. Chu Li's trace of inner energy flowed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, the aura in her body became cool, and the heat seemed to have decreased a little. As time passed, the inner energy cultivated by the crescent cryptic became colder and colder, and the heat slowly decreased. After an hour, Chu Li stopped and opened his eyes. Yu Er and the others widened their eyes and stared at Chen Siyu's face that had returned to being white. Chen Siyu's eyelashes trembled, and she slowly opened her eyes. When she saw Chu Li, she smiled. Chu Li smiled. "Elder cousin sister, I'm here." Chen Siyu smiled and did not say anything. Hu Hai praised, "Master Chen Siyu is still the best. Elder Zheng and I used all our strength, but it was useless. Once Master Chen Siyu came, he immediately succeeded. I have no choice but to be convinced." Chu Li smiled. "If it wasn't for clan leader Hu and Guardian Zheng delaying me, I wouldn't have made it in time." He sighed and shook his head. "Such a vicious palm technique. It seems that you guys have provoked a powerful person. I'm ashamed that I couldn't find out who it was." Hu Hai shook his head and said his body technique was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he defeated the two guardians and injured the association leader. Zheng Gongming had just finished adjusting his breathing. His face was still pale and weak. He sighed. "This person looks ordinary. I really can't remember who he is." Chu Li said, "He wants to kill elder cousin sister. He will come again." "Master Chen Siyu, you should stay for a few more days," Hu Hai said. "If we don't get rid of this guy, we really can't rest in peace." Chu Li looked at Chen Siyu, who was looking at him with sparkling eyes. He smiled. "Okay, I'll stay for a few more days." Yu Er said excitedly, "Master Chen Siyu, I'll go clean your room." Chu Li smiled and thanked her. Yu Er first put a pillow on Chen Siyu's head and let her sit up. Then she went out excitedly. Chu Li said, "Let's look from the inside first." This assassin could find elder cousin sister so quickly. He must have an insider. "Humph, I'll find this guy." Hu Hai gritted his teeth. Chen Siyu shook her head. "We can't make a big fuss. The association has just stabilized for a few days. Don't make the people's hearts waver." Chapter 92. I won't be happy if the traitor isn't eliminated. Hu Hai frowned. "Damn it, if I find him, I'll kill him." Chen Siyu said, "I'm afraid there are a lot of traitors." Sigh. Hu Hai sighed and looked at Chu Li. "There's nothing we can do about it. It's hard to tell what's in a man's heart. Who knows what they're thinking? They're living well, but they're not satisfied. That's how humans are. They came in with bad intentions. Zheng Gongming said, "It's useless to treat them well." Clan leader, who? How do we find the traitor? Check who was on duty that day, and interrogate them one by one. Hu Hai scoffed. Chen Siyu furrowed her slender eyebrows. It would hurt their morale, and it might not work. If it worked, there would be no traitors. Zheng Gongming stroked his beard. Zheng Gongming stroked his beard and did not allow it. He was a Dharma protector, and these were not part of his job. Chu Li pondered. "I'll do it. I'll go through it and try to find the traitors." It couldn't be better if young Master Cousin took action. Hu Hai chuckled and said, "But Master Chun Li's martial arts was great, but identifying traitors was not as simple as killing them. No matter how great his martial arts was, he needed to be meticulous and have a deep understanding of his subordinates. He needed to see if their expressions were different from usual. These traitors were treacherous people. It was not easy to make them give themselves away." Chu Li said, "I'll try." "How?" Chen Siyu asked softly. Chu Li said, "Let them come in groups of 10. Give them some money. It'll calm their hearts." "That's it." Chen Siyu asked. Chu Li said, "Let them tell you their names. Just say a few words." "All right." Chen Siyu nodded slowly. Hu Hai's eyes widened. He opened his mouth, but swallowed his words. Chu Li turned to look at Hu Hai and Zheng Gongming. Zheng Gongming stood up and smiled. "Leader, since you have no more questions, let's go back and make arrangements. How about 10 taels per person?" Chen Siyu thought for a while. "There's a difference. Give more to those who perform well. Give less to those who perform well. Stimulate their fighting spirit. 10 taels for those who perform well. 20 taels for those who perform well. How about that?" "Very well." Chen Siyu nodded and smiled. "Thank you very much, Guardian Zheng and clan leader Hu." "Leader, it's our fault." Zheng Gongming shook his head and sighed. "Please punish us. No one can do anything if their skills are inferior." Chen Siyu smiled and gently waved her hand. "Guardian Zheng, clan leader Hu, please go ahead and make the arrangements. Rest early when you're done. You're exhausted because of me. Then we'll take our leave first, young Master Cousin." Hu Hai cupped his fists and left. Chu Li smiled and gave a fist salute. There were only 3 people in the house. Yue quietly went outside the house to guard. Chen Siyu sighed. "I really don't know what to do." Chu Li waved his hand. "You should have greeted me earlier. Is everything going well?" "It's all right. I'm finally able to stand firm." Chen Siyu smiled. "How rare," Chu Li praised. It was not easy for Chen Siyu to be able to do this. Even if Hu Hai and the others were convinced that a woman was the leader, the other members might not be convinced. Their opponents would often use this to ridicule them, making them unable to lift their heads. Chen Siyu shook her head and sighed. She looked tired. "I didn't expect it to be so difficult." Chu Li said, "Everything is difficult at the beginning. After this, everything will be smooth." "I'm worried that this assassination will not be the last," Chen Siyu said. "My martial arts is not up to standard. It's a fatal weakness." Chu Li nodded. In this world, the strong were respected. If one's martial arts was not strong enough, people would not acknowledge it from the bottom of their hearts. It was the same no matter how high one's position was. Otherwise, the imperial court would not be so weak. They needed the help of the House of High Duke to deal with people from the martial arts world. "Unfortunately, my aptitude is not good enough." Chen Siyu sighed. Chu Li pondered and did not say anything. There were only 2 ways for him to help others improve their martial arts. One was to help them cultivate, and the other was to use the torso refinement pill. It was a slow process that required time. There was no way to achieve instant success. There was another way, which was to use the energy pill. However, this method was too extravagant. No matter how much money he had, it would not be enough. The energy pill was a spirit medicine that was unique to the House of High Duke. It was a unique formula that outsiders did not know about. However, as far as he knew, the spirit medicine needed was not rare. The cost was not high, but it was difficult to make. It was different from ordinary pills. It required a special method to make it. Ordinary pills only needed to add the herbs according to the proportion, boil it, and finally mix the medicine with honey to make the pill. The energy pill was different. It needed to be added in order. It required meticulous control of the fire. It was extremely difficult to make. Half of it depended on experience, and the other half depended on luck. It was almost impossible to cook a dish with the same taste, not to mention brewing medicine. Now it seemed that if he wanted to develop his power, he would need a lot of energy pills. He had to try. He would go back and plant some spirit herbs. He wanted to see if he could use his experience from his past life to analyze the ingredients of the energy pill and try to make it himself. As a physics researcher, it was not difficult to analyze the ingredients of the energy pill as long as he made the right tools. The difficult part was the experimental tools. How do you know that the Equal of Heaven Association has a spy? There's me and you and me. Isn't this the specialty of the martial arts world? Chuli smiled. I believe that there must be, or else the Cloud State Town's #1 association would not live up to its name. Chun Siu pursed her lips and smiled. You're right. You err answered. My lady? Go and find the people from the Equal of Heaven Association. Help them find the location of the flaming sun palm. Chen Siu said. Yu hesitated. How many people do we need? 2. Chen Siu said. Tell them to be careful. Yes. Yu replied, and quietly left. Luo Feng was a middle-aged man with a haggard face. He looked sick and tired, but he still had the charm of youth. He was sitting in a restaurant in the Cloud State Town. It was empty on the second floor. There was only a beautiful maid standing behind him. She would pour him wine from time to time. There was no one else around. He held a silver cup and gently swirled the wine in the cup. The aroma was intoxicating. He sat by the window and looked at the people coming and going on the streets of the Cloud State Town. He had a kind of arrogance, as if he was the only one drunk. When he went out, he would always cover his face with a black cloth. When he took off the black cloth, no one would think that this sickly man was a top martial arts master. He watched for a while and sighed. Pour the wine. Master, drink less. The beautiful maid advised him in a low voice. She knew that master's health was not good. He should not drink too much. 3 cups was enough. If he drank more, it would be harmful to his health. You're such a killjoy. Luo Feng glared at her. The beautiful maid's eyes were charming. I really can't drink anymore. You have to take care of your body. Luo Feng shook his head helplessly. All right. I'll listen to you. The beautiful maid smiled sweetly and took his cup. After this meal, we'll leave. Luo Feng took a deep breath and said seriously, we shouldn't stay here for long. Master, what's there to worry about in this place? The beautiful maid smiled. There are no top martial arts masters. We can't be careless. Luo Feng shook his head. They're not easy to deal with. To be able to become the biggest gang in the city, they must have some tricks up their sleeves. It's good to be careful. Yes, I'll listen to you. The beautiful maid smiled. I admire Master's cautiousness the most. You only know how to say nice things. Luo Feng glared at her. The most ridiculous people are those who think they're invincible. There are countless martial arts masters in the world. Who can say that they're invincible? Master, where are we going? The beautiful maid asked with a smile. In the middle of the afternoon, they were the only ones in the restaurant. They were not afraid of outsiders eavesdropping. Let's go to the town of clouds first. Luo Feng scoffed. I have an enemy there. The beautiful maid said, Shall we leave now? It's not too late to leave after we've eaten and drunk. Luo Feng patted the beautiful maid's waist and scoffed. That guy has been weak for the past few years. He's easy to deal with. The beautiful maid looked at him coquettishly and twisted her waist. A green shadow flashed, and Chu Li suddenly appeared behind Luo Feng. Chapter 94. Luo Feng leaped into the air with the beautiful maid in his arms. When he turned around, a green figure appeared in front of him. Chu Li had hit his chest lightly. Luo Feng and the beautiful maid flew out as if they were hit by a giant tree. Bang! The two of them crashed into the antique shop opposite them, smashing the signboard and the door. Screams could be heard from the shop. Luo Feng got up, helped the maid up, and ran out. He disappeared before the people in the shop came out. Master? The beautiful maid called out in his arms. She saw blood at the corner of his mouth. You're hurt. Luo Feng kept his mouth shut and gritted his teeth as he ran. He turned around and did not see Chu Li. He sighed in relief and scoffed. I won't die. The beautiful maid took out a porcelain bottle from her bosom, poured out a pill, and stuffed it into his mouth. Then she hugged him tightly and said nothing more. Luo Feng ran out of Chongming town in one breath and came to a forest. He sat down under a pine tree and let out a long sigh. The beautiful maid took out a silk handkerchief from her sleeve and gently wiped the blood at the corner of his mouth. You should rest for a while and focus on channeling. Don't worry. Luo Feng shook his head and whispered, Ame, we're in trouble this time. Master, don't talk first. Hurry up and channel. Mei said. Luo Feng sighed. I'm not badly hurt, but we're doomed this time. Master, don't say such depressing words. Didn't we escape? Ame shook her head and comforted him. The small Cloud State town doesn't have any top-notch masters. She did not believe her own words. She saw the scene just now. He suddenly appeared and disappeared in an instant. It was not like a light body technique. It was more like an illusion. It would be difficult to escape from a master with such light body technique. They did not know when he would appear and attack again. Thinking of this, she looked around, afraid that Chu Li would suddenly appear. Luo Feng said as he channeled, the inner energy of extreme yang flowed and tangled with the inner energy of extreme yin and extreme yang. This inner energy was very strange. It was like a cold current that could not be refined. Mei did not speak anymore as she was afraid that she would disturb Luo Feng's cultivation. Luo Feng adjusted his breathing for a quarter of an hour and frowned. This cold energy had not been eliminated. It was as pure as a grandmaster's inner energy. How is it? Seeing him open his eyes, Mei quickly asked. Luo Feng said, Let's go to White Cloud City. Okay. Mei nodded. Cloud State City was like a tiger's den. They couldn't stay here any longer. The sooner they left, the better. Luo Feng got up and held Mei in his arms. He used his qing gong to pass through the forest, not daring to take the main road. Mei lay in his arms and sighed. Master, I've implicated you. Luo Feng walked through the treetops, his feet fluttering as if he was riding the wind. He looked down at her and said, Don't talk nonsense. You didn't drag me down. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have been hit by his palm. You can't avoid it. Luo Feng scoffed. His qing gong is too powerful. Do you think he's following us? Yes. Really? They definitely won't let me go. Luo Feng snorted. So what? At most, we'll just fight. Which enemy? Mei asked in a low voice. Such a powerful expert. He should be very famous, and he is so young. Luo Feng frowned and pondered. He was also puzzled. Where did this guy come from? To have such qing gong at such a young age. He must be famous in the martial arts world. However, there were no young experts in the martial arts world who were famous for their qing gong. This guy's qing gong was too strange. He was definitely not a nobody, but he was unknown. Luo Feng's heart was heavy. This abnormal situation was not a good thing. It meant that the opponent's background was complicated and unpredictable. Mei asked in a low voice, could he be from Cloud State City? Startling Cloud Association? Yes, didn't you hit the leader of the Startling Cloud Association? Mei's spirit was lifted. She felt that she had guessed correctly. She quickly said, he hit me too, an eye for an eye? That makes sense. Luo Feng nodded slowly. Then he shook his head. How could such a powerful expert come from such a small organization? Mei whispered. Master, don't you think it's strange that the leader of the Startling Cloud Association, the #1 organization in Cloud State City, is a woman with ordinary martial arts skills, and such a young woman at that? It's a little strange. Luo Feng frowned and nodded. Mei said, if she doesn't have a top-notch expert behind her, how could she suppress the Startling Cloud Association? The current members of the Startling Cloud Association are the founding members of the organization. How could the daughter-in-law of the former leader suppress them? I don't believe it. This world belonged to men. Women were born to be inferior. If they did not have absolute power, men would never be convinced. That guy is the person behind Chen Siyu. Luo Feng looked down at Mei. Mei blinked her bright eyes and nodded vigorously. I'm sure. Luo Feng frowned. That palm of his was aimed at Chen Siyu's life. She could not be saved, but this guy's palm energy was pure. If it was in time, Chen Siyu would not have died. Was that why the guy did not kill him? However, this feud would not be so easily resolved. His original intention was to kill Chen Siyu, so it was possible that the other party wanted to kill him. Mei's eyes wandered, and she whispered, why didn't he kill her? Master, I think he wants to recruit you. Luo Feng looked at her in surprise. Mei smiled. Why did he show mercy? He must have an ulterior motive. No matter how I think about it, he must have come for you. The Startling Cloud Association has a limited number of martial arts masters. If you help us, our strength will increase greatly. Wishful thinking. Luo Feng scoffed. Is it really wishful thinking? A clear voice rang in his ear. Luo Feng's hair stood on end. He turned around and struck out with his palm. His palm hit Chu Li's shadow. His palm hit nothing but air. He cursed inwardly and struck out again. A green shadow flashed and hit Chu Li's shadow again. Chu Li appeared on a treetop 10 feet away. The pine tree swayed with the wind. He stood on the treetop with his hands behind his back. A long sword hung on his waist, and his green robe fluttered. He slowly raised his right palm. In his palm was a pearl hair clip that was emitting a soft light. Mei hurriedly touched her glossy black hair. Luo Feng thought that the pearl hair clip was familiar. He saw Mei's action and looked down at her hair. His face was solemn. That was Mei's pearl hair clip. Luo Feng's heart sank. This was just a pearl hair clip. Chu Li had made it clear that he could kill Mei effortlessly. If he could withstand his palm, Mei would not be able to withstand it. Chu Li smiled and looked at Luo Feng. What do you think? Who are you? Luo Feng scoffed. Mei's bright eyes looked at Chu Li. She was surprised by his young age. An innate master at such a young age was able to defeat the master. He was a genius. Chu Li said, I am Chun-Li. Let's talk about you, Brother Luo. If you want to fight, then fight. Luo Feng scoffed. I will fight you to the end. Chu Li said, I have a suggestion. Brother Luo, do you want to hear it? Speak. Luo Feng frowned. Chu Li said, the Startling Cloud Association would like to hire Brother Luo as a guest for 3 years. What do you think? Dream on. Luo Feng sneered. Mei was right. Chu Li smiled. If it wasn't for Brother Luo not abandoning Miss Mei, I would have used my sword instead of my palm. I wouldn't be here talking to Luo Feng. Luo Feng's face darkened. Mei smiled. Thank you, Master Chen. My master is not an ordinary person. Can the Startling Cloud Association afford it? How about 10,000 taels of silver a year? Chu Li smiled. Miss Mei is very lucky. Chapter 95. 10,000 taels. Mei chuckled and looked up at Luo Feng. Master, I'm tired of drifting around. It's good to settle down. Luo Feng frowned at her. Chu Li smiled at Mei. Having a woman like her was Luo Feng's good fortune. Mei turned her head and smiled. But, Master Chun, my master has many enemies. Chu Li smiled. Who doesn't have enemies in the martial arts world? That's true. Mei chuckled. But if an enemy really comes looking for us, we'll have to run, or else we'll bring trouble to the Startling Cloud Association. Am I right? Chu Li chuckled. Luo Feng said coldly, my enemies are not easy to deal with. If they take their anger out on the Startling Cloud Association, don't blame me for not reminding you. Chu Li smiled. Tell me, who are your enemies? Nine Rings Blade, White Tiger, and Heart Cutter. These 3 are the strongest. Luo Feng scoffed. Chu Li shook his head. Don't worry, they won't dare to come. Won't dare? Luo Feng sneered. With the Startling Cloud Association's strength, they can destroy us all by themselves. Chu Li smiled. Then you're underestimating the Startling Cloud Association. There aren't many martial arts masters in the Startling Cloud Association, but in the Cloud State town, they're the local tyrant. Once your enemies enter the town, you'll know what to do. What you need to do is to deal with them and not let them hunt you down. This is much better than fighting alone and being hunted down, isn't it? Luo Feng frowned. Do you trust me that much? He knew Chu Li well. Being alone was not a long-term solution. It wasn't that he was proud and didn't want to be under someone's command. It was that he didn't trust the other factions. What if they betrayed him after he joined them? Chu Li smiled. I trust your feelings for Miss Mei more. Humph. Luo Feng stared at him coldly. He was angry that Chu Li was using Mei to threaten him, but there was nothing he could do. Chu Li really had his life in his hands. In the past few years, without Mei, he was free and unfettered. Things were different now. With Mei, he also had worries and restraints. He couldn't come and go freely, and he had even more apprehensions. Child Chun, Startling Cloud Faction's faction leader Chun, is very beautiful. Mei smiled sweetly. Chu Li glanced at her. She is my cousin. I see. Mei came to a sudden realization. She chuckled and said, to be able to control the Startling Cloud Association as a woman, I'm very impressed. Chu Li said, it's just as well. Both of you will be staying at the Sioux residence, and you'll have someone to talk to. Miss Mei is smarter than most people. She'll be able to help cousin's sister. Sure, I also want a companion, Mei said with a smile. Luo Feng's face was so gloomy that it could drip water. Chu Li looked at Luo Feng. Brother Luo, it's decided then. I'll make a move first and wait for the both of you. at the Su residence. Next time, if a master like this comes again, can you block him? Hu Hai sneered. Su Anxia's face darkened. He felt that every word was directed at him, but he could not do anything. This time, it was indeed his dereliction of duty. He could not even block one palm. It was too embarrassing. If Master Li did not come back, he would not be able to redeem himself even if he died 100 times. The sound of footsteps could be heard. Chun Siu, dressed in white, leisurely walked over. Luo Feng and Ah Mei followed beside her. Yu Er was at the back. Association leader. Everyone stood up and fists saluted. Chun Siu waved her hand. No need to be so polite. She turned to look at Luo Feng and smiled. Elder Luo, please. Luo Feng bowed and nodded. Association leader, please. Everyone's gaze fell on Luo Feng. They looked at him suspiciously. They did not know what the association leader was up to. Chun Siu walked to the armchair in the center and sat down. Yu Er stood behind her. Everyone took their seats in turn. Luo Feng sat on her left, and on her right was Lan Jingzhong. Lan Jingzhong was a guest of the association. His status was aloof. He usually did not get involved in the affairs of the association. He was silent most of the time. At this time, he curiously looked at Luo Feng. He did not know why this person was qualified to sit in that position. Everyone, let me introduce. Chun Siu smiled. This is Elder Luo Feng. From today onwards, he will be the guest of the startling Cloud Association. Zhang Gongming's hand that was stroking his beard had already stopped. He had been staring at Luo Feng since he stepped into the hall. Su Anxia's eyes widened. He was so angry that he was about to burst out. As soon as Chun Siu finished speaking, he stood up and glared at Luo Feng. It's you, isn't it? Luo Feng glanced at him coldly and ignored him. Su Anxia pointed at him and shouted, You're the guy who assassinated the association leader. Chun Siu waved her hand and said, Guardian Su, don't be impatient. Sit down and talk. Su Anxia quickly said, Association leader, this guy is the guy who tried to assassinate you last time. How did he become a guest? No discord, no concord. Chun Siu smiled. All right, sit down, sit down. Chapter 96. After Su Anxia sat down, he stared coldly at Luo Feng. Luo Feng held the teacup and took a sip. He ignored the people around him and kept them at a distance. The 4 clan leaders thought it was unbelievable. No matter how they thought about it, they did not expect Luo Feng to come here openly and be hired as an honorary guest. Hu Hai could not hold it in and asked, Leader, is this the flaming sun palm Luo Feng? Yes, Chun Siu said. Leader Hu, clan leaders, from now on, we are a family. Let's work together and dominate the Cloud State town. Everyone stared at Luo Feng, trying to see through him. Luo Feng slowly put down his teacup and gave everyone a fist salute. This made Chun Siu feel helpless. Luo Feng was very arrogant and did not intend to make friends with them. He did not respect them. Su Anxia snorted coldly. Zhang Gongming squinted his eyes and looked at Luo Feng. He resisted the urge to speak. Hu Hai chuckled and said, Sect leader, he actually became our foreign dignitary. Sect leader's magnanimity is even greater than that of a man. Leader, Hu, don't flatter me. Chun Siu smiled and shook her head. Senior Luo is here. The strength of the startling Cloud Association has greatly increased. There is hope for us to suppress the Equal of Heaven Association. Hu Hai puffed up his chest and felt full of confidence. He scoffed. Let's see what kind of masters these bastards can invite. Su Anxia's face was tense. He could not let go of his anger. I have long heard of the flaming sun palm. He gave a fist salute and smiled. Brother Luo, Why did you lower yourself to come to our association? I really don't understand. Hu Hai laughed. It must be Master Chen's doing. Luo Feng coughed and said in a deep voice, Yes, I am here on behalf of Master Chen. His face was a little hot. Everyone suddenly understood and had different thoughts. It was Master Chen again. Chen Siyu clapped her hands and smiled. That's it for today. Anyway, we have a long way to go. We will slowly get to know each other. Everyone, go back to your own business. Leader, I will stay. Hu Hai said, I am worried about Elder Zheng and Xiao Su. He looked at Luo Feng. After all, he was a newcomer. His loyalty had not been tested. If he was a spy sent by the Equal of Heaven Association, it would be fatal. Master Chen had already left. They could not be careless. Chen Siyu said, Senior Luo is here, it's okay. Hu Hai thought to himself. This was exactly what he was guarding against. However, he kept a smile on his face and said, I am quite free today. Chen Siyu saw through his thoughts. She smiled and said, All right, clan leader, Hu, go ahead with your work. I know what I'm doing. When Hu Hai saw her giving him a look, he could only nod helplessly. He glanced at Luo Feng, cupped his fists, and said, All right, then let's come again tonight. Chen Siyu waved her hand. Everyone exited the hall and exited the Su mansion. He said, Scarlet Sun Palm Luo Feng, why is he here as a guest? The Flaming Sun Palm, Luo Feng, was famous in the martial arts world. Logically speaking, he would not even be interested in the Startling Cloud faction. Coming to the Startling Cloud faction as a foreign minister was a humbling act. Why would Luo Feng do such a thing? What's more, Luo Feng had severely injured the faction leader before. In the blink of an eye, he had turned from an enemy into a friend and became a foreign dignitary. This change was too fast. It must be young Master Li, the clan leader of the Wind Clan. Chung Feng sighed. Our young Master Li really can do what others can't. It must be young Master Li who forced Luo Feng to do this. Hu Hai laughed. Look at Luo Feng's unwilling face. It's most likely the case. Young Master Li must be worried about the faction leader's safety. Chung Feng shook his head and smiled bitterly. It's also because we're incompetent and too weak. No matter how strong we are, how can we compare to Luo Feng? He sighed. They were all influential figures in Cloud State Town, but in the entire martial arts world, they were nameless and not worth mentioning. They were at the same innate mastery boundary, but the difference between the strong and the weak was like the clouds and the mud. That's true, Hu Hai said. It can't be helped that our skills are not as good as others. He scoffed. I've long heard of the Flaming Sun Palm. I'd like to learn a few moves from you. As the clan leader of the Rain Clan, his position determined his position. He was glad that Luo Feng had come, but he was also afraid. Luo Feng's arrival had indeed increased the Startling Cloud Association's strength. They would all benefit from it, but he would definitely stand with the faction leader. The Flaming Sun Palm's reputation was far better than everyone else's, and his martial arts was powerful. With his support, the faction leader could speak more forcefully, and he had a greater pressure on the four clan leaders. After going through Su Jichuan's era, the four clan leaders' power was suppressed to the lowest point. They were submissive and submissive. Now that the four clan leaders had become old wives, the four clan leaders' authority was not strong, and their lives were much better. They could not wait to maintain the status quo and let the faction leader continue to rule. Once the faction leader became stronger, they would have to go back to their old days, and they would not be satisfied no matter what. With this thought in mind, he wanted to show Luo Feng, who was stronger. Zheng Gongming and Su Anxiao were no match for Luo Feng. After all, it was a sneak attack, and they might be able to win if they were prepared. Even if they could not win, A few more moves would be enough. Elder He, you can't do it. Hu Hai laughed. I have to fight even if I can't. He Shou scoffed. I have to let him know who's the master. You. Hu Hai shook his head. You think too much. Don't worry. The faction leader is not someone who would burn bridges after crossing the river. Hu Hai and the others knew what He Shou was worried about, but they could not say it out loud. Luo Feng's arrival must be the faction leader's confidant. If he were to suppress them, they would not have enough confidence to speak, and their lives would not be good. The faction leader is still young. We old fellows have to help her. Don't go down the wrong path. He Shou said. Hu Hai laughed. Don't go down the wrong path. Elder Cheng's predecessor is a good example. Master Li is not a soft-hearted person. Of course. He Shou's heart skipped a beat. All of them were afraid of Master Li. His martial arts were extremely high, and he was cruel and merciless. He killed without batting an eye. Even if they were clan leaders, Master Li would not show them any mercy. It's not a bad idea to show Luo Feng who is stronger, Chang Feng said. But I'm afraid that it will make him look worse. Not necessarily. He Shou scoffed. My martial arts have improved a lot recently. Hu Hai laughed. All right, I want to see how powerful this flaming palm is. In the evening, everyone gathered at the Su residence. Every night, they would come over to discuss the matters of the faction, communicate with each other, and give ideas. This was a habit that Chen Siyu had formed since she became the faction leader. Chen Siyu and Luo Feng had not arrived yet, so Hu Hai and the others sat together and chatted while drinking tea. Elder Zhang, did Luo Feng cause you trouble? Hu Hai asked with a smile. Zhang Gongming usually dozed off at this time and did not talk much. When he heard Hu Hai's question, he opened his eyes and stroked his beard. Su Anxia said, Humph. What's wrong? Are you fighting? Hu Hai moved forward and grinned. Su Anxia pouted and scoffed. His eyes are on top of his head. He doesn't even look at us. Oh. He Shou frowned. Is he really that arrogant? He's even more arrogant than I said. Su Anxia scoffed angrily. How dare he? Young Su. Zhang Gongming stroked his beard and glanced at him. You're not as skilled as him. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Su Anxia shut his mouth, helplessly. Chen Siyu walked in leisurely, followed by Luo Feng. She looked at everyone and sat down in the armchair in the center. What are you guys talking about? Faction leader, I'd like to spar with Brother Luo. He Shou stood up. I've long heard of the flaming sun palm. I'd like to experience it personally. Chen Siyu looked at Luo Feng. She turned her bright eyes and faintly understood what He Shou and the others were thinking. Luo Feng looked at He Shou coldly. You guys come at me together. What a big tone. He Shou stood up and gave a fist salute. Brother Luo, although you're famous, we're not weak either. I'd like to spar with you first. Luo Feng was too lazy to talk nonsense. He left the armchair and stood in front of He Shou. He stretched out his hand. Come on, Chen Siyu said. It's just a spar. Don't hurt our friendship. The two nodded at him. He Shou shouted and punched with his right fist as fast as lightning, using all his strength. Luo Feng scoffed and pressed his palm forward. This palm was slow, but it arrived first. It bypassed He Shou's right fist and gently hit his chest. He Shou watched helplessly. His body was as slow as a snail. He watched as his chest was hit by the palm. He flew 10 feet away and stood steadily. He touched his chest. There was a palm print on it, but he did not feel anything. Amazing! Hu Hai gave a thumbs up. He could see the mystery of this palm. It was extremely fast, and the force used was exquisite. If it were him, he would not be able to avoid this palm. An expert could tell the truth the moment he made a move. There was no way to fake it. The flaming sun palm was indeed worthy of its reputation. He gave a fist salute and looked bitter. I admire you. Luo Feng was expressionless. He sat back in the armchair to the left of Chen Siyu. Chen Siyu smiled. Does anyone else want to experience the flaming sun palm? Hu Hai and the others shook their heads. Chen Siyu said, all right, let's get down to business. It's about the Equal of Heaven Association. The Equal of Heaven Association has been very rampant recently. They've been jumping up and down as if they've become the masters of Cloud State Town. It's time to wake them up. Leader, are we going to attack the Equal of Heaven Association? Hu Hai's eyes lit up. Chen Siyu nodded. I'm going to destroy the Equal of Heaven Association. The Equal of Heaven Association was equipped with the same equipment as the Startling Cloud Association. There were 4 halls, and each hall had 100 people. The number of people was similar to the Startling Cloud Association, but their strength was far inferior. It couldn't be better. Hu Hai laughed. Damn it, I've always disliked them. Leader, you've always been suppressing them. Chen Siyu said, there's no peace in the association. How can we start a war? Now that we have Elder Luo, the time is ripe. We can make our move. How do we do it? Hu Hai asked. Luo Feng said, Leader. Chen Siyu turned to look at him and smiled. Elder Luo, do you have any suggestions? Luo Feng said in a deep voice, there's no need to go through so much trouble. Just kill Huang Hai. This. Chen Siyu frowned. Humph, how arrogant. Su Wanxia curled his lips. Luo Feng ignored him and only stared at Chen Siyu. Chen Siyu said, Are you confident? Isn't it too dangerous? Luo Feng said, They don't know that I've joined the association. They'll be defenseless. It'll be easy to succeed. Brother Luo, is Huang Hai your friend? He asked. Huang Hai was the leader of the Equal of Heaven Association. Chapter 97. Then we'll destroy Huang Hai. Hu Hai gritted his teeth. This guy is too difficult to deal with. He had suffered a lot from Huang Hai. Otherwise, the Equal of Heaven Association would not have risen. Only Su Jichuan could suppress Huang Hai. After Su Jichuan's death, they were afraid of Huang Hai. Luo Feng looked at Chen Siyu. Chen Siyu pondered for a moment and nodded. That's good. It's easier to deal with a group without a leader. Elder Luo, I'll have to trouble you. Luo Feng said, I'll take care of him. Chen Siyu looked at Cheng Chang Feng. Clan leader Cheng, can you find out Huang Hai's whereabouts? No problem. Cheng Chang Feng quickly said. The Wind clan was responsible for intelligence gathering and assassinations. They had infiltrated the Equal of Heaven Association deeply and had eyes and ears everywhere. It was not difficult to find out Huang Hai's whereabouts. Chen Siyu said, Limit the scope of this operation to the minimum. We can only use 2 people at most to find out Huang Hai's whereabouts. I understand, leader. Cheng Chang Feng gave a fist salute. Mobilizing too many people would be easily detected and alert the enemy. Chen Siyu looked at everyone. Do you have anything else to add? Leader, if Brother Luo succeeds, we'd better act immediately. Hu Hai said, Speed is the most important thing in war. We have to strike first. Chen Siyu pondered. Hu Hai said, Leader, do you have other arrangements? Is it possible to make the Equal of Heaven Association fall apart? Chen Siyu's eyes wandered and swept across everyone. If they start a fight for the position of leader, it's very possible. He nodded. Huang Hai's situation is the same as the previous leader. He's wise and powerful, but the people under him don't have much prestige. However, there's one thing. Huang Hai has a son. There are two more. Hu Hai scoffed. Chen Siyu's eyes flashed. Like father, like son. Both of his sons are useless, but they're a threat. Clan leader. Hu, can you get rid of them? No problem. Hu Hai patted his chest and laughed. These two guys are spoiled brats. It's a piece of cake to get rid of them. It's best to do it at the same time. Chen Siyu said, make it look like a personal grudge. Sect leader, Luo Feng said, there's no need to go through so much trouble. I'll take advantage of the time when they're at home and kill the three of them at once. It's too dangerous, Chen Siyu said. Luo Feng's movement technique was fast, and his palm technique was powerful. His assassination was sure to hit its target, and he swaggered off. Assassinating one person was not too dangerous, but assassinating three people was completely different from assassinating one person. There would definitely be a commotion, and the defense of the Yellow Sea could not be underestimated. No matter how good Luo Feng's martial arts were, his life would still be in danger if he was surrounded. Sigh, if only young master was here. Hu Hai sighed. Chen Siyu smiled. You can't count on my cousin for everything. He's very busy. Before Chu Li left, he casually mentioned that with Luo Feng around, they should be able to take down the Equal of Heaven Association. It seemed like a casual remark, but she took it very seriously. Luo Feng said, Chief, let me do it. All right, Elder Luo, we will support you. No need. Luo Feng waved his hand and said, too many people will only make things worse. I'm fine alone. All right, I'll listen to Elder Luo. Chen Siyu slowly nodded. The main hall of the Su residence was brightly lit as if it was daytime. Chen Siyu and the others were sitting in the main hall. It was so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. Ah Mei, who was dressed in a light green gown, sat quietly on Luo Feng's seat. Her back was straight, and her hands were tightly holding onto a silk handkerchief. She occasionally glanced at the door. Only Luo Feng was absent from the startling Cloud Association. Everyone else was present. Hu Hai broke the silence and said, Elder Chung, is there really no problem? Chung Changfeng said, there's absolutely no problem with my information. Huang Hai has a very regular schedule. He wakes up at 7 in the morning, eats breakfast, and goes to the association. He comes back at night to eat, read some books, and then sleep. There's nothing special about him. He doesn't leave the New Moon brothel. Hu Hai curled his lips. Chung Changfeng shook his head. Huang Hai doesn't lust after women. Then what's the point of living? Hu Hai scoffed. Zheng Gongming stroked his beard and smiled. He scoffed. Do you think everyone is like you? You're a hungry pervert. Chen Siyu coughed lightly and glanced at them. Hu Hai smiled sheepishly and changed the topic. Elder Luo is too much. He just had to pick the most secure time to make his move. In my opinion, it's best to do it halfway. It's the easiest to succeed. Brother Luo is very skilled and bold. He scoffed. Hu Hai laughed. Elder you're still not convinced, are you? I don't dare to. He waved his hand. I'm convinced. I'm just angry at myself. I'm too useless. Then train as hard as you can. Hu Hai said, what's the big deal? Your fist technique is too ordinary. Find a better fist technique to practice. That's easy for you to say. He glared at him. Where can I find a better fist technique? Secret martial arts manuals are priceless treasures. Do you think you can get them just because you want them? Hu Hai tilted his head and thought for a while. I heard that Hu Pingyong with the one-punch suppressing Chuan has arrived at the town of Clouds. Is that true? Yes. He nodded. Those famous masters were like the stars of the future. Wherever they went, they would be the center of attention. There would always be people who would warmly welcome them as the host. Other than Luo Feng, who deliberately kept a low profile, most masters would spread the news wherever they went. Hu Pingyang, Hu Hai stroked his beard and looked at Zheng Gongming. Elder Zheng, this guy is not a good person. Let's get rid of him and get a fist technique. For Elder, he? Nonsense. Zheng Gongming stroked his beard and shook his head. Mei gripped her handkerchief tightly and glanced at the door from time to time. She was very worried. It would not be easy for Master to break into the Equal of Heaven Association alone. If anything went wrong, she would not be able to live. She glanced at the people in the hall. She knew that they were talking to suppress their worries. However, no matter how worried they were, they did not care about Master. They only cared about success or failure. She understood that old Master was doing this to prove his loyalty and also to establish his prestige. Elder Zheng, what do you mean? Hu Hai shouted. Zheng Gongming said, You're dreaming. What do you mean by dreaming? Hu Hai was unconvinced. Hu Pingyang's heart-shattering fist is very powerful. We just need to get rid of him and find the secret manual. How do you know he has the secret manual? Zheng Gongming took a sip of tea. What if he didn't bring it with him? It's easy to get rid of this guy. Hu Hai scoffed. Zheng Gongming said he might not be able to escape unscathed. Now that we have Elder Luo, it shouldn't be a problem. Hu Hai said. Before Luo Feng came, he did not dare to provoke Hu Pingyang. Hu Pingyang's reputation was average. The reason he could survive until now was because of his top-notch fist technique. Zheng Gongming could not be bothered and closed his eyes again. Hu Hai widened his eyes in disbelief. Chen Siyu waved her hand. All right, clan leader Hu, if it were you, would you bring the secret manual with you? Hu Hai said, Of course not. Chen Siyu glared at him in annoyance. Hu Hai chuckled and said, Isn't that a possibility? He Shou said, Thank you for your kindness, but I can't accept it. Forget it. A blue shadow flashed, and Luo Feng floated into the hall. He looked calm and gave a fist salute to Chen Siyu. Association leader, fortunately, I did not disappoint you. Everyone stood up. Hu Hai said loudly, Elder Luo, it's done. Luo Feng nodded and walked towards Mei. He smiled at her. Mei pursed her red lips. Huh? This is great. Hu Hai laughed. This is great. He Shou hurriedly asked, Are you hurt, Brother Luo? Luo Feng shook his head. I can't even withstand a single blow. God is really helping the startling Cloud Association. Hu Hai laughed. Association leader, let's move. Chen Siyu said softly. Everyone, let's move according to plan. Chapter 98. Back garden of Jinghai City's city guard mansion. The bright moon hung in the middle of the sky, its clear radiance sprinkling down. The back garden was quiet and auspicious. Gu Litong sat in the octagonal pagoda and slowly sipped on a cup of wine. He poured out the melancholy and despair in his heart sip by sip. He stayed here alone, cold and cheerless. He had no friends, no enemies. He stayed in the back garden all day, unable to go out. Even if they went out, there was nothing much to see in Jinghai town. It was worlds apart from Chongming town. It was like going from the city to a poor village in the countryside. There was no interest in shopping. Recently, the situation had been tense. The people from the Rin public house were running around everywhere. It would be dangerous for him to go out, so he had been staying in the town defense prefecture. To him, it was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. He could even tame the exotic flowers and plants in the public house, so these flowers and plants were not even worth mentioning. He sighed faintly. His life was finally over. Since he had offended Master Xiao Taiying, it was impossible for him to return to the High Duke's public house. Being able to stay in the mayor's public house was already a favor from the third lady. She did not want him to die in vain. Of course, she did not want him to become a pawn against the High Duke's public house. No matter what, it was impossible for him to return to the Duke's public house. Thinking of the days in the House of High Dukes, where they wore luxurious clothes and ate delicately, they could hold their heads high. But now they could only live with their tails between their legs. They really felt that life was no longer interesting. "Brother Gu, you're in a good mood." A green shadow flashed, and Chu Li appeared in the pagoda. He was dressed in a green robe with a long sword hanging from his waist. He sat opposite Gu Ruoyan. Gu Litong frowned and stared at him. "Why are you here?" Chu Li smiled. "Brother Gu, how have you been? Are you that kind?" Gu Litong sneered. "You just want to see if I ran away or not, right? Where can you run off to?" Chu Li could not help but laugh. "Brother Gu is a smart man. I've always been at ease. You don't come here for no reason." Gu Litong snorted. "You're now the favorite of the third lady. You must be very busy. You don't have the time to bother with a useless person like me." Chu Li smiled and said, "You're dispirited and feel that life is hopeless? What do you think?" Gu Litong grunted. He had no choice but to throw caution to the wind. He said coldly, "All right, don't be so timid. If you have something to say, then say it." Chu Li did not mind his attitude and smiled. "I do need your help with a small matter." "Speak." Gu Litong snorted. "How can I refuse?" Chu Li said, "Help me plant a few types of grass." "Spirit herbs?" Gu Litong frowned and looked at him. "What do you want to do?" Chu Li took out a piece of paper from his pocket and passed it to him. "I will inform the mayor." Gu Litong spread, opened the white paper, and looked at it. He then raised his head and asked, "So many?" Chu Li said, "Most of them are normal herbs, but there are a few types of spirit herbs. Is that okay?" "Who said no?" Gu Litong proudly snorted. "No problem. There's no spiritual soil here. There's no need to use spiritual soil for these spiritual herbs." Gu Litong curled his lips and looked at him from head to toe. "What are you going to do with these?" Chu Li smiled and spread his hands. Gu Litong grunted. "How many do you want to plant?" "The more the better," Chu Li said. "But you have to keep it a secret and do it as soon as possible." "What's in it for me?" Gu Litong snorted. 1,000 taels. Chu Li took out 10 banknotes from his pocket and handed them over. "Is that enough?" "That's more like it." Gu Litong smiled. No matter how despicable Chu Li was, he could not go against money. Moreover, he knew that his life was saved by Chu Li. Although he was saved by Chu Li, he did not feel grateful. He still felt that Chu Li was despicable, but he would not cut ties with him because of this. He still needed to rely on Chu Li in the future. Otherwise, he would not be able to do anything. Chu Li looked around. "You didn't find a woman?" "Not in the mood." Gu Litong carefully folded the white paper and scoffed. "It's boring to do anything here." "Don't worry. After a while, the third lady will think of a way to plead for you. Master Xiao Taiying might change his mind." "Impossible." Gu Litong shook his head. He understood Master Xiao Taiying's character. He could not tolerate a single grain of sand in his eyes. Master Xiao Taiying would never use him again. Chu Li smiled. "You're a genius. Master Xiao Taiying might appreciate your talent. There are many geniuses in the public house. I won't be a problem." Gu Litong scoffed. "I don't want anything now. I just want to live peacefully." Chu Li looked at him. "With your skills, it's not a problem for you to stay in the town defense prefecture." Gu Litong proudly scoffed. Chu Li said, "The Run public house is powerful. Be careful." Gu Litong scoffed. "Don't worry. I won't leave the public house. Chu Li smiled. If you do well, I'll find a way to transfer you elsewhere. Find a place where the Run public house can't touch you. You, Gu Litong squinted at him and said disdainfully, It's too early for you to be in power. He knew the situation in the public house very well. No matter how powerful Chu Li was, his age and experience were like two locks that locked the door to becoming a powerful person. He had only been in the public house for 2 years. He was young and inexperienced. How could a relationship of 2 years be compared to a relationship of 10 or 20 years? It was too easy to betray someone. Moreover, young people were unstable. Chapter 99. Chen Jiudeng stared at Chu Li. He frowned and did not say a word. He was afraid of Chu Li. Chu Li broke into his study room without a sound. He was not an ordinary person. There were 28 protectors in the residence. Even birds would not be able to enter. It was not difficult for Chu Li to break in. The difficult part was that he did not make a sound. The startling Cloud Association wanted to support him to become the association leader. They also found out about Chen Xiefeng. They should know that he was not willing to be a puppet. Chu Li smiled. I chose you because you can support the Rockwell Association. Also, Chen Xiefeng is a talent. The association leader cherishes talent and does not want him to die. You are very arrogant, Chen Jiudeng said coldly. At his age and status, he would not trust anyone easily. There were only 3 people who knew about Chen Xiefeng's existence: his wife and the association leader. What if this was the association leader's test? Chen Li was not from the startling Cloud Association, but the association leader? The association leader was a suspicious person. It was not impossible for him to do such a thing. Chu Li said, There are many people in the Rockwell Association who want to be the association leader. The other 3 clan leaders must be interested too. It's a pity for Chen Xiefeng. Chen Xiefeng is... Chen Jiudeng scoffed. Chu Li said, He does not know that we have found out. He is very diligent. The association leader wants to promote him. This is a serious matter. Let me think about it for 2 days. Chen Jiudeng said. Clan leader Chen still does not trust me. Fine, I will help you get rid of the clan leader of the Shang Wu clan first. Chu Li smiled. Chen Jiudeng looked at him suspiciously. Chu Li smiled. The clan leader of the Shang Wu clan is your enemy. Helping you is a sign of our sincerity. As soon as he finished, he disappeared from the study room. Chen Jiudeng got up and opened the door. He rushed into the courtyard. The night was dark, and he could not see anyone. It was as if Chu Li did not exist. It was just a dream. Guards! Guards! Chen Jiudeng shouted. A group of protectors rushed over. They stood at the bottom of the stairs and looked at him seriously. A beautiful middle-aged woman also gracefully walked over. She had a graceful figure and a gentle posture. Master, what happened? Chen Jiudeng glanced around. All the protectors were still there. Obviously, they did not know that Chen Jiudeng had come in. Chen Jiudeng sighed helplessly and waved his hand. The crowd was baffled and dispersed. The middle-aged woman came closer and sized him up. She asked in a low voice, Master, what happened? Chen Jiudeng shook his head and smiled. It's okay. Madam, your body is weak. You should go and rest. You don't have to worry about this. I can't sleep. I feel restless. The middle-aged woman shook her head and said, Master, you should also rest early. Don't work too hard. Your health is the most important. All right. Chen Jiudeng nodded. The middle-aged woman held his arm and walked forward. The two of them strolled to the back garden. She looked at the sky and sighed. Chun Jiodeng knew what she was thinking about. He waved his hand and dismissed the maids. "Madam, are you thinking about Feng again?" I wonder how he is now." The middle-aged woman sighed. "He has suffered since he was young. Every time I see the young people in the gang, I think of him. I don't know if he will be in danger." "Don't worry, Ma. Feng is very smart." Chun Jiodeng patted her hand. The middle-aged woman shook her head. "I can only comfort myself. Life and death are decided by fate. He has never enjoyed a day of happiness with me as his sister. Just thinking about it makes me feel guilty." Chun Jiodeng said, "If it doesn't work, let Feng come back." "Let him come back?" the middle-aged woman asked. Chun Jiodeng nodded. "Yes, I will send someone to ask him to come back in 2 days. That's for the best." The middle-aged woman nodded. "I don't expect him to have any achievements. I just want him to be safe and healthy. If he can marry and have children, it will be perfect." Chun Jiodeng remained silent. If Chun Li really wanted to help him, he might not let Feng go. Feng was like a hostage. If Chun Li really let Feng come back, he would be worried. Chun Jiodeng hugged his wife. He was thinking about whether Chun Li really wanted to help him or not. The startling Cloud gang was ambitious. How could a woman have such ambition? However, it was reasonable for a master like Chun Li to be ambitious. He fell asleep in a daze. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door from outside. "Master, master, master." Chun Jiodeng sat up immediately. "What's the matter?" "Master, the gang leader has summoned you. There is an urgent matter to discuss. He wants you to go there immediately and bring more guards with you." "Okay, I will go there immediately." Chun Jiodeng patted the sleepy wife. "I have to go out for a while. You can go to sleep first." The middle-aged woman's eyes were hazy as she murmured, "Something big happened." "Nothing." Chun Jiodeng smiled and patted her. The middle-aged woman fell into a deep sleep again. Chun Jiodeng got out of bed quietly. He put on his clothes and opened the door carefully. When he walked out of the house, the middle-aged housekeeper came forward and whispered, "Master, it's urgent." Chun Jiodeng said, "Don't wake the wife up, no matter how serious it is." "Yes," the middle-aged housekeeper replied. Chun Jiodeng came to the living room. A young man stood up and gave a fist salute. "Greetings, Leader Chun. The gang leader has summoned us urgently. Please gather all the guards. We will go there immediately. The gang leader is waiting." Chun Jiodeng asked, "Xiao Chui, what happened?" Chapter 100. Chun Jiodeng said, "Leader, it's our fault. We didn't notice any martial arts master entering the city. It's useless to talk about this now. Ma Tong scoffed, send our men to find that bastard and kill him." Chun Jiodeng sighed. "I think he has escaped." "Humph, not necessarily," Ma Tong said coldly. "Send all our men out and find him even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground." "Leader." Chun Jiodeng pondered and looked at the other 2 hall masters. Ma Tong scoffed. "Just say it. There's nothing you can't say at this time." Chun Jiodeng nodded. "I'm worried that if all our men go out, the faction will be weakened. If that bastard returns, even if he doesn't return, will the Tai E Association not hit us when we're down?" Rockwell Association only had 4 hall masters, no guardians or guests. They were considered as the local tyrant in the town of Clouds, but they could not dominate the town of Clouds, as there was still the Tai E Association to counter them. Ma Tong frowned and slowly nodded. Chun Jiodeng said, "After thinking about it, it's most likely that the Tai E Association hired a martial arts master." "That makes sense," Ma Tong said. "But there's one thing Why did they pick Hall Master Wu? Hall Master Wu is the strongest, Chen Jiudeng said. And he's the biggest threat to the Tai Association. The Tai Association. Ma Tong squinted his eyes and glanced at the 3 hall masters. Leader, why don't we attack the Tai Association? Wu Xinyu, the hall master of Shangji Hall, said, an army with righteous indignation will win. While everyone's angry, we'll give the Tai Association a good beating. How's the morale of the Shangwu Hall? Ma Tong scoffed. Wu Xinyu said, it's time for us to work together and fight against a common enemy. Ma Tong's expression was uncertain. He thought for a while. Finally, he waved his hand. Forget it. It was better to be safe than sorry. He had not sorted out his thoughts, and it was a mess. It was not a good time to make a move. He was afraid that someone would purposely muddy the waters and take the opportunity to attack him. Chen Jiudeng sighed and shook his head helplessly. Chief, Wu Xinyu shouted excitedly, this is such a good opportunity. It'll be gone if we miss it. Wu Xinyu's body was thin and his face was long and narrow. His complexion was sallow and he looked like a sickly man, but he was a Xian Tian level expert. He was short-tempered and full of wicked ideas. Ma Tong was most suspicious of him. Wu Xinyu felt that Ma Tong was cowardly and stupid. He was unconvinced, but there was nothing he could do. The hall master of Benevolence Hall, Bai Jingren, had a dignified appearance and a dignified expression. However, from beginning to end, he had not spoken a single word. Normally, he was like a clay doll, following whatever the sect master said east and west. He was the most trusted and valued by the sect master. In the end, Ma Tong waved his hand and dismissed his men. He ordered them to be more vigilant to prevent any more assassinations from breaking in. By the time Chen Jiudeng returned to the residence, the sky was already bright. He did not want to disturb his wife, so he went to the study room. As soon as he opened the door, he saw Chu Li sitting in front of the desk with a book in his hand. Chu Li put down the book and smiled. Clan Leader Chen, how was it? You did it. Of course. Chen Jiudeng said coldly. How dare you? Aren't you afraid that I'll shout? Chu Li laughed. Chen Jiudeng was annoyed by Chu Li's dismissive attitude, but he suppressed his anger. He frowned and scoffed. You have great martial arts. Chu Li waved his hand nonchalantly. What do you think, Clan Leader Chen? Chen Jiudeng remained silent. Chu Li's action was both a threat and a determination. If he were to reject it, he would definitely end up like Clan Leader Wu. He had no choice but to lower his head. Chen Jiudeng sighed. I have a condition. Chen Jiudeng said. Let's hear it. Let Chen Xiefeng come back. Don't you think it's better for Chen Xiefeng to stay there? A 30% tax is too high. 10%. Chu Li shook his head. At least 20%. If not, our efforts will be in vain. It's not worth it. Chen Jiudeng frowned and looked at him. Do you think that killing Ma Thong is enough? Chu Li smiled and shook his head. Once Ma Thong is dead, you can't be the leader anymore. Oh, Chen Jiudeng stared at him unwillingly. Chu Li stood up and tidied his green robe. Once Ma Thong is dead, the most likely person to be the leader is Bai Jingren. Looks like you know us very well. Chen Jiudeng scoffed. He muttered in his heart. If Ma Thong was dead, would he be able to control the situation? No matter how he thought about it, he was not confident. The 4 clan leaders were not easy to deal with. The reckless and hot-tempered clan leader, Wu, was gone. There was still the gloomy and intelligent Wu Xinyu and the deep and reserved Bai Jingren. They were not easy to deal with, let alone dealing with them together. However, it was impossible to get rid of all of them. Otherwise, the Rockwell Association would be finished. Shu Li said, Clan leader Chen, your reputation is not high enough. You need time to increase it. Chen Jiudang remained silent. Shu Li said, my plan is 3 years. 3 years later, you will be the leader and unify the town of clouds. Then, you will join forces with the startling Cloud Association. We will each take one city and reach the peak of the association. Chen Jiudang looked at him and scoffed. 3 years. Shu Li looked at him. Clan leader Chen, do you think it's too long? Is it okay to take 2 cities each? Do you really think so? Of course, 1 city is fine too. Chen Jiudang scoffed guiltily. If they really took over 2 cities, they would not be far from destruction. The House of High Dukes were not to be trifled with. They would not let them become stronger and take over 1 city. The House of High Dukes might turn a blind eye to it. If they took more than 1 city, they would be in danger of taking action. How is the plan? How will you help me? We'll talk about the details later. You can either send reinforcements or pass messages. We have a spy in the Iron Shirt Association. Okay. Chen Jiudang nodded slowly. He knew that he did not have much of a choice. This was the best he could do. Shu Li smiled. Then we will be a family from now on. If your wife really wants to see Chen Xiefeng, you can go to the town of clouds to meet him. Chen Jiudang's face turned gloomy. Chun Li did not leave at all. He was right beside him, and he did not notice. His wife was his weakness. He must have seen through her. Chu Li waved his hand and disappeared in a flash. Chen Jiudang looked around. Who knew if he had left or if he was right beside him? Being targeted by such a person made him feel uneasy day and night. He could only cooperate with him. Chu Li stopped at the Chen residence for a while. Through the omniscient mirror, he could see Chen Jiudang's thoughts. Once he became the leader of the Rockwell Association, the 2 cities would be connected. It would be much more useful than just 1 association or faction. Controlling the underground forces of a city would be very useful. Once he was in power, it would be of great help. He first went back to the town of clouds and told Chen Jiudang about it. Chun Siyu was full of praise for Luo Feng. With such a top-notch master by her side, she could sleep peacefully. Chu Li did not meet with Luo Feng. He only looked at him in the dark. Through the omniscient mirror, he saw that Luo Feng was satisfied with his current life. Chu Li picked up the teacup. Young master, chief, supper is ready. Xue Ling used a rosewood plate to serve 4 delicious dishes and a pot of warm wine. She stood behind Chu Li and poured the wine for the 2 of them. The jade-white cups were filled with emerald green wine, making the cups look green. Suru held the white jade cup and took a sip. She nodded in satisfaction. When you're with the second lady, try not to talk too much. The second lady is not that tolerant to others. If you're not careful, you'll offend her. In the end, not only will you not value her, but you'll also hate her. Chuli nodded and picked up the silver chopsticks to eat. Suru picked up a piece of braised meat and chewed it slowly. Chuli smiled. Then I'll be a mute and won't say a word. That's for the best. Suru smiled. I'm just afraid that you won't be able to hold it in. Chuli took a sip of wine and smiled. This is not difficult, right? You'll know if it's difficult or not when you meet the second lady. Remember, the second lady doesn't like people who talk too much. If you want her to like you, you'll have to be quiet. Suru shook her head and smiled. There's one more person. No matter where the second lady goes, she'll bring him along. Oh. Chuli looked at her. Suru said, High Official Guamulin. Chuli listened attentively. He thought that she was the second lady's maid. Suru was like this. Although they were master and servant since young, they were like sisters. Suru said, This elder Gua's medical skills are extraordinary. The second lady's body is delicate and needs to be nurtured at all times. If she's not careful, she'll fall sick. If it wasn't for Elder Gua, the second lady would have. Chuli said, I understand. Don't offend him. Elder Gua only had one son, but he was killed. Suru shook her head and sighed. He only saved people his whole life and never killed anyone. His son was killed by a martial arts practitioner. Think about it. What would he think? So he hates people from the martial arts world? Chuli asked. Suru sighed. He hates anyone who practices martial arts. Don't try to please him. The further you stay away from him, the better. Chuli nodded. Suru was still worried. She reminded him, in short, your mission is to gain experience, not to be in the limelight. Chuli smiled. Stay away from the second lady and don't be in the limelight. It's best if you don't say anything. Stay away from the second lady and High Official Gua. Suru smiled. If you can do it, I'll be relieved. I will. Chuli smiled. Suru shook her head. The second lady has 6 grandmasters. No matter how hard she tries, she'll be able to escape. You don't have to worry. Just protect your own life. How many grandmasters are there in the Ren public house? Around 10. So few. Chuli was surprised. The Ji dynasty had a total of 12 public houses. Each public house had around 10 grandmasters, so there were more than 100. Including the martial arts sects, the entire Ji dynasty might not have more than 300 grandmasters. It was far less than what he thought. In his mind, compared to modern society, those who had built their foundation were like entering a university. Becoming an innate master was like becoming a professor. Grandmasters were like academicians of the 2 academies. As for enlightened masters, they were like Newton and Einstein. At daybreak, Chuli and Xueling were cultivating when Suru, dressed in a light green gown, pushed the door open and entered. Chuli immediately stopped writing while Xueling went into the house to retrieve his bag. Let's go. Suru turned around and walked out. Xue sent the 2 of them to the courtyard and stood outside the door, watching them until they disappeared into the depths of the forest. Suru turned around and glanced at Xueling. Her feet were fluttering as she asked, Xueling, you don't have to worry, do you? Much better. She's stubborn, but you're good at torturing people. She's finally done it now. Chuli turned his head to look at her. You're not thinking of replacing me, are you? Do you want to trade? Suru smiled faintly. I've just gotten used to it. How can I exchange it? Chuli shook his head and smiled. The dishes she cooks are to my liking. This girl's temper is too bad. If it was someone else, she might have caused a lot of trouble. Su shook her head and sighed. Chu Li smiled and did not say much. The two of them boarded the small boat and sailed on the vast lake. After 15 minutes, a pleasure boat appeared in the mist. The pleasure boat seemed to be moving slowly on the lake, but it was actually moving very fast. The small boat only caught up after 15 minutes. A handsome young man stood on the boat, his blue gown fluttering in the wind. He gave a fist salute and laughed. Chief Su said, Hai Qingshan is the second lady on the boat. Yes, Hai Qingshan nodded. The lady is resting inside. Chu Li, get on the boat. Su turned her head and said, This is Protector Hai Qingshan. You can follow him. Chu Li nodded and floated onto the pleasure boat. He gave Hai Qingshan a fist salute. Hai Qingshan was tall and burly. He had a handsome face. He gave a fist salute and smiled. I'm Hai Qingshan. Brother Chu, I've heard a lot about you. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. Chu Li gave a fist salute and smiled. I'm flattered. Please give me some pointers. Brother Hai, you're welcome. From today onwards, we'll be working together. Hai Qingshan smiled. I'll bring you to the lady. Chu Li nodded. Suru's boat floated away. Chu Li followed Hai Qingshan to the cabin. Hai Qingshan stood in front of the cabin and gave a fist salute. Lady, Brother Chu Li has arrived. His voice was very soft, as if he was afraid of disturbing the person sleeping inside. Let's speed up. A mellow and gentle voice floated out. Yes, Hai Qingshan replied respectfully. Chu Li activated the omniscient mirror. The pleasure boat's cabin was divided into 2 sections. In the first section, there were 7 elders. They had white hair and a youthful complexion. They were not young. Chu Li could tell that 6 of them were grandmasters, and 1 was an innate master. The second section was decorated elegantly. There was a graceful lady lying on the couch. Her eyebrows were like black ink, and her eyes were like limpid autumn waters. She was unbelievably beautiful. Her beauty was enough to cause the downfall of a city. She supported her head with one hand and read a book with the other. Her eyebrows showed signs of tiredness, and her expression was languid. She responded to Hai Qingshan casually and yawned. She put down the book and got up from the couch. She opened the window and took a deep breath of the fresh air. Her chest rose and fell violently. Chu Li sighed. The first beauty of the great Ji dynasty really lived up to her name. Every frown, every smile, every movement of hers was beautiful. She did not bring a maid with her. She must have known that the journey would be dangerous. Chu Li quickly turned his attention to the elder innate master. It was Guo Mulan whom Su mentioned. The 6 grandmasters were playing chess. Guo Mulan was sitting at the side with his eyes closed. He sat far away from them. His disgust was obvious. He did not fit in with the 6 grandmasters. Hai Qingshan said, Brother Chu, you have to be prepared. We will be a scribe on this journey. We will be serving people. Chu Li smiled and nodded. I am a scribe. He, this scribe of yours is the #1 youth master in our public house. Hai Qingshan laughed. Chu Li waved his hand. They are just making a fuss. The #1 master? What a joke. Hai Qingshan said, Shuo Feiyang is very powerful. I have fought him before. Chu Li activated the omniscient mirror to see what Hai Qingshan was thinking. He realized that Hai Qingshan's words were sincere. Hai Qingshan smiled. Let's spar when we have time. All right. Chu Li agreed. Chapter 103. The pleasure boat docked at the shore. There was a lush apricot forest on the shore. Seo Shur came out of the cabin. A white veil covered her beautiful face, revealing only a pair of eyes that were clear and cold. Her temperament was quite similar to Seo Chi's. Hai Qingshan put up the plank and got off the pleasure boat with Chu Li. They went straight into the forest. Chu Li followed him for about 10 meters. There was a spacious grassland in the forest. There was a large green carriage with 8 horses. Hai Qingshan turned his head and asked, "Brother Chu, do you know how to drive a carriage?" "Yes," Chu Li said. When he left the mountain, he learned how to drive a carriage from the coachman, Elder Chu Ei. "Thank you, Brother Chu Li," Hai Qingshan said. He untied the reins of the 8 horses and led them out. Chu Li boarded the carriage and cracked the whip. The carriage started to move and followed the horse in front to the shore. Hai Qingshan smiled. "Lady Seo, Brother Chu Li knows how to drive the carriage. Let Elder Guo rest." "Young man, don't flatter me. I like to drive a carriage," Mulin said coldly. Hai Qingshan laughed and looked at Seo Shur awkwardly. Seo Shur said, "Elder Guo, sit with me. Let Chu Li drive." "All right." Mulin agreed, helplessly. He stared at Chu Li coldly. "Young man, if you don't drive well, I'll teach you a lesson." Chu Li closed-fist saluted and smiled. Mulin scoffed and helped Seo Shur into the carriage. The carriage was purple in color. It was wide and big. It looked normal from the outside, but it was spacious. The interior was elegantly decorated. It could be laid down no matter how one lay down. Hai Qingshan patted Chu Li's shoulder and said softly, "Don't mind him. Elder Guo is a good person." Chu Li smiled and nodded. Words were useless to him. He did not care what others said. He drove the carriage like he was his own arm. The 4 horses seemed to understand his thoughts. Through the omniscient mirror, he could see the situation on the road and the thoughts of the 4 horses clearly. He adjusted the situation to make the carriage fast and stable. It was not bumpy even on the narrow road. After an hour, they were on a main road. The 6 grandmasters spread out. 4 of them guarded the 4 corners of the carriage, while the other 2 guarded the front and back. Hai Qingshan scouted the way at the front, occasionally disappearing without a trace. He let go of the reins of a horse and let it follow on its own, with 2 large bundles on its back. Chu Li did not care about anything else and only focused on driving. He knew that Guo Mulin was full of sarcastic remarks, and he was ready to pour them out at any time. Unfortunately, he could not find the opportunity to do so. He could only hold it in, and it was hard for him to do so. Seo Shur held a poetry collection in her hand. Mulin swallowed his words and took out a medical book to read. Soon, he was immersed in the book. From time to time, he would make a few gestures. His eyebrows were dancing with joy. Time passed unknowingly. Soon, the sun reached its zenith. Hai Qingshan rode his horse to the front of the carriage and cupped his fists. "Miss, there is a small pavilion in front of us. Let's go in and take a rest and eat something." Xiao Shi replied. Hai Qingshan urged his horse to lead the way. Chu Li flicked the whip, and the carriage sped up. Soon, they entered a forest. In the forest, there was a modeled old pavilion for pedestrians to rest. It was built by the government. Hai Qingshan untied the 2 large bundles. There were a few wooden boxes and water bags inside. He opened the boxes neatly and took out 4 side dishes and placed them on the stone table. He then distributed some dry food and braised meat to Chu Li and the 6 masters. Guo Mulin and Seo Shur sat at the stone table and ate. The 6 masters sat outside the pavilion and guarded it. They ate the dry food and braised meat while looking around and being cautious. Hai Qingshan called out to Chu Li. The 2 of them led the horses far away and untied the reins to let the horses graze on the grass. He sat on the grass and began to eat his dry food. Chu Li also ate his dry food and braised meat. Xiao Shi took off her white veil, revealing her happy and angry face. She took small bites of the food, elegant and calm. She only ate and did not say a word. Guomulin did not speak either. The two of them followed the principle of not talking while eating. They ate quietly and slowly. After the meal, Xiao Shi used a silk handkerchief to wipe the corner of her mouth. She tied the white veil again and got down from the pavilion. She strolled in the forest. Her lake green gown fluttered in the wind. The 6 grandmasters followed her closely, surrounding her in the middle, not leaving her side for even a moment. Chu Li finished his dry food and braised meat in a few mouthfuls. Hai Qingshan was still eating slowly. Half an hour later, Xiao Shi returned to the carriage. Guomulin glared at Chu Li before he boarded the carriage. "Brat, why are you in such a hurry?" Chu Li closed-fist saluted and nodded with a smile. "Yes, I'm a little slower." Guomulin scoffed. He was annoyed with Chu Li's attitude of not answering back. He could not scold him to his heart's content. It would make him look like he was being unreasonable. He could only scoff and get into the carriage. Xiao Shi sat in the carriage. She pursed her lips and smiled. She shook her head and picked up the poetry book. Chu Li had no other thoughts. He only wanted to be safe. This trip was very secretive. It would not be leaked. However, Lu Yurong was very powerful. He had to be careful. Guomulin sat down and took out his medical book. He scoffed. "Who is this brat?" "Elder Gua, 3rd young lady, thinks highly of him. She wants to train him well." "Oh, 3rd lady's favorite." Guomulin scoffed. He nodded and did not say anything else. "What do you think, Elder Gua?" "Of course, the person that 3rd lady likes can't be wrong." "That's true." Xiao Shi looked at the poetry book and said, "He's a very smart guy." "Heh." Guomulin shook his head. "It's a pity that you don't like smart people." Xiao Shi smiled. She did not care that Chu Li was sitting outside the carriage and could hear their conversation. Chu Li smiled bitterly. Xiao Shi looked lovely and gentle. Just like what Suru said, she was harder to get close to than 3rd lady. He drove the carriage quickly and steadily. It was slower than in the morning. The carriage was more stable. There were more people around them. From time to time, they would meet people riding horses or driving carriages. There were many people on the road. Their group did not attract much attention. They met a few groups of people on the road. A carriage with a few riders was a common arrangement. Although their carriage was a little bigger, it looked simple. It did not look like they were rich. Hai Qingshan rode his horse and rode beside the carriage. "My lady, there's a small town in front. Do you want to rest for the night?" "Yes." Xiao Shi replied. Hai Qingshan whispered to Chu Li, "Turn left at the intersection in front. There's a North Guard town 50 miles away." Chu Li nodded. He suddenly glanced at the 2 riders who just passed by and frowned. Hai Qingshan saw that his expression was strange. He asked, "What's wrong?" Chu Li pointed at the 2 riders. "They're here to scout. Do they want to harm us?" Hai Qingshan's face turned serious. Chu Li nodded. Hai Qingshan frowned. "Could it be bandits?" Chu Li shook his head as he waved his whip. "I'm afraid they're here for the 2nd lady." Hai Qingshan's face darkened. "You suspect that they're from the Ren public house?" Chu Li nodded. Hai Qingshan said, "I'll go take a look." Chapter 104. After half an hour, Hai Qingshan rode back with a gloomy face. Chu Li glanced at him. Hai Qingshan came to the side of the carriage and whispered, "Lady, the Run public house really has their eyes on us." Guomulin asked, "Young Hai, how did you find out?" Hai Qingshan smiled. "I pretended to be from the Run public house and found out." Look at you, you're quite honest, but you're quite smart. Guimulin scoffed. Hai Qingshan scratched the back of his head and smiled embarrassedly. This was not because he was smart, but because he learned from others. Ignore them. Xiao Shi's gentle voice was heard. Hai Qingshan quickly said, They will definitely harm you, lady. With the 6 high officials here, we don't have to worry about them. I'm just afraid that they came prepared. Hai Qingshan quickly said, What if they also send grandmasters? I know, go. Xiao Shi's gentle voice was soft, but Hai Qingshan could not refute her. He shook his head and sighed as he looked at Chu Li. Chu Li whispered, Can the public house send more masters? Grandmasters are impossible. Hai Qingshan shook his head. There were only 8 grandmasters in the public house. Sending out 6 of them was already an overkill. The remaining 2 must not be touched. The public house was the foundation. There were so many spirit medicine, and there was also the eldest master and the 3rd lady. If all 8 grandmasters were to be sent out, it would be unthinkable for someone to take advantage of the situation. If it was not for 2nd Lady Xiao Taiying's high position, it would be impossible to send 6 grandmasters. Usually, when Master Xiao Taiying and Lady Xiao Taiying went out, they would only send 4. Chu Li frowned and pondered. It was risky to have 2 grandmasters guarding the public house. The people of the martial arts world saw the public house as a threat. If there was a chance to destroy the public house, they would not let it go. In the current situation, the best way was not to send reinforcements, but to besiege the besieged or to mobilize the masters of the Run public house. Once they were mobilized, they must be accompanied by grandmasters. This would undoubtedly weaken the power of the ambush. As such thoughts flashed through his mind, he hesitated to say it. 2nd Lady Xiao Taiying hated smart people. If he said it, he would definitely be suspected of showing off. He took a deep breath and whispered, Lady Xiao Taiying, I have something to say. Speak. Xiao Shi's gentle voice was heard. Chu Li said, We have to transfer their grandmasters away. What a joke. Mulin scoffed. Do you think the grandmasters will listen to you? Chu Li did not seem to hear what he said. He calmly said, Write a letter and ask Master Xiao Taiying to find a way to mobilize a few masters from the Ren public house. The grandmasters will definitely accompany them. That's easy for you to say. How can they be manipulated by an outsider? Mulin mocked without holding back. Chu Li's expression did not change as he said, Master Xiao Taiying should have a way. That's a great idea. Xiao Shi chuckled. But it won't be easy. They're not fools. Chu Li smiled. There were many ways to make them leave the mansion. If one plan did not work, then another. He did not believe that they would be able to stay in the mansion. It was a pity that he did not have any power, so he could only sigh helplessly. There was no point in saying more, and it would only make them feel disgusted. That's just a bunch of useless nonsense. What other ideas do you have? Mulin scoffed. Chu Li said, If it really doesn't work, Lady Xiao will leave with us. You mean you're out in the open and I'll sneak away so that you can attract their attention? Chu Li replied, Yes. If we can't win, we'll just run. With Xiao Shi there, he could not run even if he wanted to. Below the Grandmaster, I'm afraid that you won't be able to run even if you want to. Xiao Shi said lightly, I understand. Chu Li tactfully kept his mouth shut. Mulin said in a low voice, This young man's idea is not bad. It's better if we split up. Elder Mulin, we can't. Xiao Shi shook her head lightly. Mulin said impatiently, Once we start fighting, you'll be a burden to them. You can't run, even if you want to. Why would I be afraid of these evil tricks? Xiao Shi said calmly but firmly, What has the House of High Dukes become? You. Mulin shook his head helplessly. With that temper of yours, you'll suffer in the end. A man should know when to yield and when to stand tall. You're a woman. Why do you care so much? Saving your own life is the most important thing. Xiaoshu said, I'd like to see what the Rin public house is going to do. They'll kill you. Mulan scoffed. Master Xiao Taiying will definitely go crazy. The House of High Dukes will be finished. Elder Mulan. Xiaoshu glared at him in dissatisfaction. Mulan pursed his lips and scoffed. Do you think I'm just scaring you? Think about it. If you die, will Master Xiao Taiying go crazy? Don't worry. Elder brother is wise under the guise of stupidity. He'll be able to calm down during crucial moments. Xiaoshu said, You stubborn girl. You're so infuriating. Mulan stood up angrily. He lifted the curtains and left. When he reached the outer cabin, the 6 grandmasters looked at him and shook their heads helplessly. Mulan snorted and sat down on the chair. He could not persuade this stubborn second lady. The worst thing was that she was not afraid of death. She felt that life was boring. She was sick and weak. Living was torture. When faced with this kind of person, no amount of persuasion would help. Chu Li turned left and drove for 50 miles. He entered the North Defense Town in the evening. Although the North Defense Town was small, it was very lively. It was located beside the main road. It was inevitable that people would come here for a stroll, a meal, or to spend the night. This made the small town bustling. Hai Qingshan had already rented a house in advance. He did not stay in an inn. It was a house with 2 entrances. After settling down, Hai Qingshan busied himself with the work of a scribe. He was neat and tidy. It was obvious that he was familiar with the job. Chu Li could not help much. He went out to buy things according to the list that Mulan had written down. He ran around and brought back the vegetables and meat. Mulan personally cooked. Soon, 2 tables of dishes were ready. One table was full of color, smell, and taste. There were a lot of meat dishes, and the other table was light. Xiaoshu and Mulan ate the light food. Chu Li and the others ate in the main hall. Xiaoshu and Mulan were in the study room next to it. The 8 of them were eating to their heart's content. An old man suddenly frowned. The 6 of them looked at each other. The old man put down his chopsticks and floated out. Pung pung, sounds rang out incessantly. Chu Li activated the omniscient mirror. He saw that the old man named Zhao Qingshan floated up to the wall. He pushed his palm out. A man fell from a tree branch 20 feet away. The man rolled on the ground and jumped up. He turned around and ran. Zhao Qingshan threw a punch. The middle-aged man, who jumped 30 feet away, flew out and hit the wall. He closed his eyes and fainted. Zhao Qingshan floated over and picked him up. The middle-aged man suddenly opened his eyes. A cold light shot out from his sleeve towards Zhao Qingshan. Zhao Qingshan chuckled and shook his body slightly. The blue dagger stopped halfway and fell to the ground with a ding. The middle-aged man was shaken by Zhao Qingshan. He could not exert any strength. He was paralyzed. Zhao Qingshan carried him back to the main hall. He threw the middle-aged man on the ground and sat down to continue eating. Chu Li stared at the middle-aged man and looked at the scene in his mind. Hai Qingshan put down his chopsticks and walked towards the middle-aged man. He asked, "Republic House?" The middle-aged man closed his eyes. The only part of his body that could move was his eyes. Zhao Qingshan said, "Qingshan, be careful. This guy is very cunning. Don't be fooled." Hai Qingshan nodded. He stared at the middle-aged man's eyes and said, "How many of you are here? Where do you plan to set up an ambush? If you don't speak, don't blame me for being rude. Under torture, you will have to speak even if you don't want to." Hai Qingshan saw that the middle-aged man did not speak. He patted him 3 times. Chapter 105. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, the middle-aged man was sweating profusely. His mouth opened and closed, but he couldn't speak or even make a sound. Chu Li knew that Zhao Qingshan had sealed his mute acupuncture point. Zhao Qingshan ate his food leisurely and didn't even look over there. This was to force the middle-aged man into despair, and then unseal his acupoints so that he could grasp a glimmer of hope and spit out everything he knew. It's about time, Elder Zhao. Hai Qingshan turned his head and looked at Zhao Qingshan. If he continued, someone would die. Zhao Qingshan shook his head and said, Qingshan, you are still too soft-hearted. Hai Qingshan smiled embarrassedly. He was not soft-hearted when it came to killing people, but he could not bear to see others suffer. He would rather end them with a sword. An old man beside him said calmly, With Elder Guahir, it'll be hard to die even if you want to. Zhao Qingshan put down his chopsticks, stood up and slapped the middle-aged man's back. Ugh! The middle-aged man let out a strange cry. The pain contained in his voice was so real that everyone could feel it. Hai Qingshan heaved a sigh of relief and stared at the middle-aged man. Tell me, and I'll let you go. If you don't, I'll kill you. You're really letting me go. The middle-aged man's voice was hoarse as he stared at him suspiciously. He felt that it would be difficult for him to escape death. He only wanted to die a quick death. He knew this when he first came here. Hai Qingshan scoffed and said, Even if you go back, you won't dare to say that you've been caught and confessed. Otherwise, the Rin public house will definitely kill you. If you act like you don't know anything, you'll still have a chance to live. Besides, you're just a nobody. Killing you will only alert the enemy. The middle-aged man rolled his eyes. He felt that it made sense. He did have a chance of survival. Hurry up and say it, Hai Qingshan snapped. If you delay any longer, your partner will get suspicious. All right, I'll speak. The middle-aged man heaved a heavy sigh. He forced himself to be alert and said, We're just here to scout. We won't be participating in the operation. I heard that Lady Xiao has sent 5 grandmasters. 5? Hai Qingshan frowned. Only 5? The middle-aged man hurriedly raised his finger and swore an oath. Hai Qingshan frowned and waved his hand. The middle-aged man quickly got up and leaped into the night. Chu Li saw the image in the middle-aged man's mind. He was not lying. Unfortunately, this person's status was too low to be trusted. Lu Yurong might have kept them in the dark. She might even have predicted that they would be captured and used them to pass on false information. In short, whether it was true or false, it was useless. Hai Qingshan frowned and sat in front of the table. He picked up his chopsticks absent-mindedly and put a piece of beef into his mouth. He chewed slowly. Elder Zhao, do you think he's telling the truth? It looks like there's no problem, Zhao Qingshan said. 5 grandmasters. Looks like Lu Yurong didn't expect Second Lady to bring more people this time. Hai Qingshan smiled. His expression relaxed. Usually there would only be 4 grandmasters, but this time they brought a lot of them. This was because the High Duke's public house had used Gu Litong to deal with a group of innate masters from the Rin public house. They were worried that the Rin public house would retaliate. Chu Li glanced at Hai Qingshan. Zhao Qingshan said, Little Chu, do you have something to say? Chu Li said, Small? Lai Nai Chong Ju Qin Xian, Mo. Are you saying that Lu Yurong might even lie to her own people? Zhao Qingshan frowned and asked. Chu Li nodded. Zhao Qingshan thought about it and sighed. We have to be careful. That girl is too cunning. Hai Qingshan smiled disapprovingly. Elder Zhao, it's all about strength. No matter what tricks she has up her sleeves, as long as we're strong enough, we'll be able to face them head-on. There's nothing to be afraid of. Tricks are still very useful. Zhao Qingshan smiled. All right, No matter what, all we can do is to be careful and not let them have any chance to take advantage of us. If the situation is really bad, we'll run away with Lady Xiao. Everyone nodded their heads. They would just have to stay put to deal with the changes. On the second day, when they were hurrying along, there were knights passing by from time to time. There were 2 or 3 of them, sometimes 5 or 6 of them. They stared at them unscrupulously, as if they were ready to attack at any time. Even if Zhao Qingshan and the others caught a few of them, it was useless. Zhao Qingshan and the others were worried, but they could not show weakness. If they were caught, they would cripple their martial arts. In 2 days, Zhao Qingshan and the others had crippled 8 of their martial arts. Unfortunately, they were all acquired masters, which did not affect the strength of the Ren public house. Chu Li only cared about driving and did not care about anything else. It was estimated that they would arrive at Grand Secretary Kang's residence in 5 days. Along the way, there were people who tried to provoke them, but nothing happened. Xiao Shi did not know what was going on outside, as she quietly read her book. In the evening, the sun was setting. The group stopped in front of a small hill. There was a broken temple on the hill. They were prepared to rest in the temple for the night. This temple stood alone on a small hill. Buddhism was flourishing in the current era, but the temple had fallen to such a state because of its location. There were few people around, and without people and incense, even the best temple would fall into decline. There were 2 holes in the door of the temple. The Buddha statue in the temple was broken and incomplete. The angry King Kong only had 1 eye left. Hai Qingshan and Chu Li cleaned the place and laid a moonlight felt mat on the floor. Xiao Shi stepped on the felt mat and sat on a round stool that was just made of wood. She looked around and nodded. Since we're outside, let's put up with it. There's no need to work anymore. Qingshan. Yes, lady. Hai Qingshan replied respectfully. Hai Qingshan took out a wooden box and placed 4 dishes on the table. He then distributed dry food and braised meat to the group. Chu Li caught a few deer and picked some wild vegetables and mushrooms. He used the pot that he brought to cook a pot of meat soup. The group ate to their heart's content. It was midnight, and the moon was hanging high in the sky. Chu Li was on night watch. He sat still. His body was one with the earth, and his mind was one with the night. He felt the silence of heaven and earth. Suddenly, he activated the omniscient mirror. He noticed that there were 7 gray-robed elders floating towards them as fast as the wind. Chu Li opened his eyes and let out a long whistle. Zhao Qingshan and the others woke up immediately. On a newly made bed in the temple, Xiao Shi, who was lying on her side, woke up as well. She frowned and looked outside the temple. Hai Qingshan rushed towards Chu Li. Zhao Qingshan and the others leaped onto the roof of the temple. 2 of them entered the temple and stood guard beside Xiao Shi. Hai Qingshan shouted, "Someone's here?" Chu Li stared at the direction of the 7 gray-robed elders. "Brother Hai, if something's wrong, run with Lady Xiao Shi." Hai Qingshan nodded and looked at the direction Chu Li was looking at. "How many?" 7. Chu Li said. "Only 7." Hai Qingshan sighed in relief. "They could be grandmasters." Chu Li shook his head. "Looks like they found out about us and are about to make a move. 7 grandmasters could easily suppress 6 grandmasters. The remaining grandmaster was more than enough to deal with an innate master. It was a foolproof plan. Lu Yu was ruthless and accurate. In the time it took to say a few words, the 7 gray-robed elders appeared and pounced into the temple. Hai Qingshan wanted to go up to them, but Chu Li grabbed him. Going up would be suicide. Hai Qingshan struggled. Chu Li quickly said, "Brother Hai, don't mess around. They are grandmasters." "All of them?" Hai Qingshan stopped struggling and frowned. How would we know if we don't try? Chu Li said, wait. Chapter 106. Hai Qingshan's expression changed. He stopped struggling. 6 of them faced off against 6 others while the remaining Grand Master floated towards the carriage. Chu Li's expression changed. Hai Qingshan struggled to get out. Chu Li disappeared in a flash. Hai Qingshan staggered and quickly stopped himself. He then used all his strength to run towards the carriage to block the elder in gray. Second, Lady Xiao Shi did not know any martial arts, and her body was delicate. She could not be frightened. Although Elder Guomulin was an innate master, it was just a cultivation level. He did not practice any powerful martial arts. He would not be able to withstand a single blow. Once the elder in gray went over, Second Lady Xiao Shi would not be able to survive. Thinking about this, Hai Qingshan was anxious. His body felt like it was on fire. His speed was much faster than usual. He shot towards the carriage like an arrow. He wanted to block the elder in gray even if he had to risk his life. He did not care if he was a match for a grandmaster. A green shadow flashed in his eyes. Chu Li appeared in front of the carriage. He shrunk his body and went inside. Bang! The carriage was torn apart and pieces of debris flew everywhere. Chu Li held Xiao Shi in one hand and Guomulin in the other as he stood on the carriage. Good boy. The elder in gray shouted and punched in the air. Chu Li disappeared in a flash and appeared 2 feet away. He raised his voice and said, Brother Hai, I will leave first. There is no need to fight with them. He disappeared in a flash. There was a clear mark of a fist at his original position. Hai Qingshan stopped moving. He widened his eyes in disbelief. He let out a sigh of relief and almost fell to the ground. Chu Li held the 2 of them and disappeared from everyone's sight. The elder in gray snorted and chased after him. If Chu Li escaped, they would lose all their face. 7 grandmasters were dispatched, but they could not defeat a weak girl. How could they enjoy the Rin Public House's offerings? A short pine tree stood proudly in the wind, its twigs twisting. Suddenly, the figures of Chu Li and the other 2 appeared out of thin air under the tree. Chu Li let out a long sigh and let go. Xiao Shi's face was pale. Mulin did not look good either. He pushed Chu Li away and said angrily, You are so clumsy. If anything happens to young Xiao Shi, you will be the one to blame. Chu Li also felt that something was not right. Xiao Shi's body was as light as a feather, soft and boneless. She was far more fragile than he had imagined. The few flashes that she made to break through the void would be unbearable to most people. It was even more unbearable than the pilots of the future generations breaking through the speed of sound. It was a few times worse than being in a state of weightlessness. Xiao Shi bent over and retched a few times. She waved her hand. Mulin rubbed her back carefully. He did not want to scare her. He asked softly, Are you all right? Do you feel uncomfortable? Xiao Shi took out a silk handkerchief from her sleeve and wiped the corner of her mouth. A smile appeared on her pale face, making her look extremely weak. It's nothing. Chu Li saved us. Humph. I really don't know if he's trying to save or kill me. Mulin glared at Chu Li. Chu Li smiled awkwardly at his thoughtlessness. Mulin scoffed. If you do it again, Xiao Shi will be dead. Chu Li said helplessly, Elder Gua, we can't just wait for death, right? Mulin scoffed and turned his head away, ignoring him. He asked in a low voice, Shika-chan, how was it? Xiao Shi coughed twice and forced a smile. I'm much better now. Her limpid eyes fell on Chu Li's face. She smiled. Thank you so much, Chu Li. Chu Li said, Lady Xiao Shi, you're too kind. It's my duty. We better not stop for too long. They might catch up. You're so fast. How can he catch up? Mulin said in disbelief. He doesn't have a dog's nose. Chu Li shook his head. A grandmaster's senses are far better than a normal person's. They might be able to smell it. Lady Xiao Shi and Elder Gua, please change your clothes. I'll go first. He was about to leave. Wait, Mulin quickly said. Where are you going? Chu Li said, I'm going back to see if I can lure that guy back. How? Mulin asked. If I kill one, he will naturally go back. You're so arrogant. You can kill a grandmaster. Where there's a will, there's a way. I'll give it a try. Chu Li looked at Xiao Shi helplessly. It was supposed to be a simple matter. All he had to do was to bring Xiao Shi away and not let the opponent catch up. However, Xiao Shi's body was so weak, she could not withstand the speed of the light body technique. Even if he did not use imminent skyline, normal light body technique would not be able to withstand it. He estimated that the Grandmaster could catch up to them. They could not escape either. The only way was to go back. There might be a chance when they were unprepared. Only luring the elder away would not solve the problem. As long as the elder ignored him, he would not be able to do anything. He alone was not his match. A sneak attack would be useless. If he wanted to sneak attack, he would have to sneak attack the 6 people who were fighting. There was still a glimmer of hope. If he made a sneak attack and crippled one of them, he could lure the elder back. The masters of the Rin public house saw that there was no hope of success. They gave up. Grandmasters cherished their lives. Take this. Mulin threw a black porcelain bottle over. Chu Li reached out and caught it. He looked at Mulin. 7 miles against the wind. Mulin scoffed. Open this in the wind. No matter how powerful your martial arts is, you won't be able to block it. Chu Li was surprised. It can charm a grandmaster. So what if he's a grandmaster? Mulin scoffed. As long as he's a mortal, he'll fall. Chu Li was dubious. If he really had this thing, the grandmasters would not be so scary anymore. Xiao Shi shook her head. Elder Mulin, tell the truth. Don't hurt him. Mulin scoffed. All right, grandmasters won't be charmed so easily. They're smarter than monkeys. When the cork is pulled out, they'll sense the danger and stop breathing. Chu Li nodded slowly. He kept it in his sleeve. If he used it at the right time, it might be effective. His face changed. He knew something was wrong. The elder appeared in his omniscient mirror. He was 3 miles away. He could catch up with them in a few breaths. He seemed to know where the 3 of them were hiding. He stepped on the treetops and went in a straight line. He thought quickly. His body flashed and appeared 100 meters away. After 2 flashes, he was already a mile away. He let out a long whistle. When the elder heard the whistle, he stopped. He thought for a while and smiled. He continued to go in a straight line, ignoring Chu Li. Chu Li saw the situation in the omniscient mirror. He sighed. His plan could not keep up with the changes. He could only go forward. The elder suddenly sped up. He was like an ethereal shadow. In a blink of an eye, he was a mile away. He threw a punch at Xiao Shi from 100 feet away. Chu Li felt bitter. He helplessly flashed and appeared in front of Xiao Shi. He took the punch head-on. Bam! His face flashed gold. He swung his hand, and a cold light shot out. Chi! The cold light broke through the air like silk. The elder dodged. He wanted to avoid it, but he hesitated. Then his body trembled and flew out. Chu Li fell limply. The golden light faded from his face. It was as pale as lime. The elder flew 10 meters away. A flying knife was stabbed in his heart. The blade went into his body. Only the handle was left. He was not dead yet. He struggled to sit up. He looked down at his bleeding heart. He looked up and stared at Chu Li. Chu Li's mouth was bleeding, but he was smiling. Xiao Shi's face changed. She looked at Chu Li. How could a grandmaster's attack be so easy to block. Guo Mulin quickly went forward to check on Chu Li's injury. Chu Li waved his hand with difficulty. He climbed up little by little. He moved in front of the elder. He slowly pulled out the long sword from his waist and swung it. The cold light flashed. The elder was beheaded. Blood spurted out more than 10 steps away. Chapter 107. He took a blow from a grandmaster. The infinite azure sea was 5 folds. His meridians were destroyed, and his organs were displaced. Chu Li spat out a mouthful of blood. His breathing was weak. Mulin rushed over and pressed on Chu Li's wrist. He took out a jade porcelain from his pocket and poured out the pills inside. 5 dark green pills were stuffed into Chu Li's mouth. Chu Li suddenly trembled. A mouthful of blood gushed up, and the pills were forced out. Mulin panicked. He quickly poked Chu Li's chest and picked up the pills. He did not care about the mud and stuffed them back into Chu Li's mouth. He said, "Swallow it." Chu Li grinned and swallowed the pills. Spiritual energy surged into his body from all directions, nourishing his body and maintaining his vitality. If he did not have the life and death scripture, he would not have dared to do this. No matter how serious his injury was, as long as he was still breathing, the life and death scripture could save him. "You brat, you're really ruthless." Mulin saw him swallow the pills and sighed in relief. He shook his head and sighed. "You're playing with your life." Seosher looked at the decapitated body of the elder in gray. She looked calm. She slowly came to Chu Li's side and whispered, "Elder Guo, will he be okay?" "Not good." Mulin held Chu Li's wrist and shook his head. "He's too badly injured. This brat is too cruel to himself." Chu Li tilted his head and looked at Seosher. Seosher squatted down and sighed. "Chu Li, it's been hard on you." Chu Li smiled and did not say anything. He was afraid that he would not be able to stop the blood from flowing out. "Lady Seo! Lady Seo!" Hai Qingshan shouted from afar. Mulin channeled his energy and shouted, "Young Hai, over here!" Hai Qingshan quickly ran over. When he saw Chu Li lying on the ground, he was stunned. He quickly went forward and was shocked again. He saw the horrible state of the elder in gray. "Lady Seo, are you all right?" Hai Qingshan asked. Seo shook her head. "I'm fine." Hai Qingshan looked at Chu Li on the ground. "Brother Chu, are you badly injured?" Chu Li smiled. There was blood at the corner of his mouth. His smile made him look even more tragic. Mulin waved his hand and said, "All right, don't talk to him. You guys go over there and wait. I'll give him acupuncture. Don't get distracted." Seosher lowered her head and glanced at Chu Li. She turned around and slowly walked to a tree. She leaned against the tree and sat down. Hai Qingshan quickly stopped her. He took off his clothes and laid them on the ground. He then let her sit on his clothes. Guo Mulin took out a small box from his pocket. He opened it and saw 2 rows of silver needles. The needles shone brightly under the watery moonlight. He helped Chu Li up. 36 needles quickly pierced Chu Li's body from all directions, making him look like a porcupine. "Don't circulate your power." Mulin said, "I'll help you to digest the effects of the drug." Chu Li's voice was hoarse and dry as if it had been smoked. It was difficult for him to speak. "Thank you, Elder Guo." Sigh. Mulin shook his head. "Stop talking." He suddenly stopped talking and looked at Chu Li in surprise. Logically speaking, after suffering such heavy injuries, his injuries should have worsened, and he should have fainted, unable to maintain consciousness. He then felt Chu Li's pulse. It did not seem to have weakened. It seemed that the medicine had taken effect. Hai Qingshan ran over. "Elder Guo, is Brother Chu Li all right?" "From the looks of it, he won't die any time soon." Guo Mulin put down Chu Li's wrist and nodded if he can keep his life, then God has opened his eyes. Then, Hai Qingshan was about to ask, but he quickly stopped and looked at Chu Li. Guomulin looked at him and said unhappily, "You want to ask if he can keep his martial arts?" Hai Qingshan smiled embarrassedly. Guomulin sneered, "Look at the situation now, and you're still thinking about martial arts. Martial arts, what's so good about it?" Hai Qingshan knew that he had poked Guomulin's heart. He quickly said, Yes, there's nothing good about martial arts. You people who practice martial arts." Guomulin glared at him and waved his hand impatiently. "Get lost! Go away!" Hai Qingshan scratched the back of his head in embarrassment and went back to Xiao Shi. Xiao Shi glared at him. Hai Qingshan understood the meaning behind her bright eyes. He was asking to be humiliated. Chu Li smiled bitterly to himself. The inner energy of the fifth layer was like a flood rushing through a small river. Wherever the flood passed, the river would be destroyed. If the inner energy was not of the fifth layer, it would be impossible to kill a grandmaster. He relied on the scripture of life and death, the minute pulse cleansing technique, the sentient menace, and the torso opening pill. That was why he dared to be so reckless. Guomulin felt his pulse again. It was gradually getting stronger. The medicine was starting to take effect, and he would slowly get better. He stood up and went to Xiao Shi. "Xiao Shi, let me take a look at you." Xiao Shi handed over her snow-white wrist. Guomulin felt her pulse and let out a sigh of relief. "It's all right. It's not a big problem. I'll have to take care of it for a while. I can't go through any more trouble." Xiao Shi whispered, "Is Chu Li okay?" Sigh. Guomulin shook his head. He wanted to perish together with the grandmasters. It's already a blessing from God that he's still alive. He can't keep his martial arts. Xiao Shi furrowed her brows slightly. Guomulin said, "His meridians are badly damaged. He's a cripple." Xiao Shi shook her head lightly. Guomulin smiled, "But it's good that he doesn't have his martial arts. Xiao Shi, you'll take care of him anyway. It might not be a bad thing for him to live a peaceful life." Xiao Shi's bright eyes turned and glanced at the porcupine-like Chu Li. She sighed softly. At his age, everyone thinks the same. He thinks that martial arts is more important than his life. I'm afraid he won't be able to recover from this setback. That won't be the case. Guomulin smiled. He's tough on himself. He won't collapse that easily. Don't worry. Xiao Shi looked at Chu Li and nodded lightly. After an hour, Zhao Qingshan and the rest of them floated over. Their clothes were torn and tattered. They didn't have their usual temperament. They were in a sorry state. Lady Xiao Shi. They saw that Xiao Shi was safe and sound. They were overjoyed. Xiao Shi let out a smile. "You've all worked hard." Zhao Qingshan and the rest of them rushed to her. They saw that her face was only a little pale. There was nothing unusual. They let out a long sigh of relief. They felt lucky. When the 7 masters attacked, they couldn't even take care of themselves. They couldn't do anything. Only then did they have the mood to look around. They saw the decapitated corpse of the man in gray. They looked at Chu Li, who had needles all over his body. They were shocked. Young Chu killed him? Guomulin rolled his eyes. "If we waited for you guys to come, we would have been dead. Young Chu, The 6 of them looked at Chu Li in surprise. As grandmasters, they knew that there was a huge difference between an innate master and a grandmaster. No matter how powerful an innate master was, he couldn't kill a grandmaster. Young Chu perished together with that guy. His martial arts couldn't compare to that guy, but his life was tougher. Guomulin shook his head. Zhao Qingshan and the rest looked at Chu Li in surprise. Chu Li could kill a grandmaster. He must have cultivated a powerful martial arts. There was a huge difference between masters of the same level. The key was still the power of martial arts. Under extreme circumstances, it was not impossible to surpass the level. Chu Li must have been young. Facing the unparalleled beauty of the second lady, he sacrificed himself to protect her. He exploded with a shocking power and coincidentally killed a grandmaster. Lady Xiaoshu, should we continue? Zhao Qingshan frowned. The Run public house is going to fall out with them. Chu Li coughed. Guomulin walked closer to him. Say it. You're still worried at a time like this. Chu Li whispered. We should inform the public house immediately. You're really worried. Look at the situation now. Just focus on healing your wounds. Guomulin said impatiently. Don't worry about the rest. Chu Li said, I want Brother Hai to help me send a letter to the third lady. Hai Qingshan quickly said, No problem. Chapter 108. What letter? Guomulin was annoyed. What are you worrying about? Chu Li said, 7 grandmasters have been dispatched. I think Lu Yurong is here too. They won't let this go easily since a grandmaster is dead. There are only these few of us. We will definitely die. Moreover, this is a good opportunity to kill Lu Yurong. Guomulin touched his wrist and scoffed. You have quite a lot of vitality. He did not expect the medicine to be so strong. Although he had consumed a few spirit pills in one go, it was not enough to make a dying person so energetic. Xiaoshu frowned and nodded. Qingshan, you go. Yes, lady. Hai Qingshan closed fist saluted. Lady, let me do it. Zhao Qingshan said. I can send Chu Li back. All right. Xiaoshu looked at Chu Li. Chu Li quickly said, Third lady. Xiaoshu looked at him quietly. Chu Li said, Senior Zhao Qingshan can't leave. I don't know when Lu Yurong will come. What about you? Xiaoshu asked. Chu Li pondered and shook his head. I can't leave either. Oh, Xiaoshu looked interested. Chu Li said, I have a deep grudge with the Ren public house. If I leave lady's side, they will kill me immediately. Xiaoshu smiled. They want to kill you more? I'm afraid so. Chu Li nodded helplessly. Xiaoshu smiled. So you're afraid of death too? I'm afraid of being killed for being useless. Chu Li said, If I stay with Lady Xiaoshu, there will be many seniors around. If I leave their protection, Lu Yurong will definitely kill me. Guomulin asked curiously, Why do you have such a big grudge with Lu Yurong? Chu Li smiled bitterly. Zhao Qingshan smiled and shook his head. Elder Zhao, you know? Guomulin stared at him. Hurry up and tell me. Zhao Qingshan smiled. Didn't you destroy the Ren public house's prestige a while ago? Whitestone Town. Hai Qingshan blurted out. Zhao Qingshan looked at Chu Li and smiled. Whitestone Town killed 24 and 8 masters. Young Chu Li was the one who started it. Do you think Lu Yurong wants to kill him? She wants to tear him apart. Mulin nodded. Now that I've fallen into Lu Yurong's hands, I don't think it'll be easy for me to die. She'll torture me for a while. Chu Li nodded. So you're a meritorious person, Xiaoshu said with a smile. All right then, why don't you follow me, old Gua? He's right. He has to follow us and take care of him at all times. Mulin scoffed. His injuries are too serious. Xiaoshu turned her head and said, Qingshan, go back and tell Big Brother about what happened here. Listen to his orders. If I leave, what about here? Hai Qingshan asked worriedly. The lady needed to be served, and the 6 elders and high official Gua were not suited to serve others. In addition, there was Chu Li, who needed to be served even more. Without him around, it was hard to imagine what they would do. Just go, Mulin scoffed. Do you think we'll starve to death without you? Hai Qingshan looked at Xiaoshu. Xiaoshu smiled and said, Go, come back quickly. Yes. Hai Qingshan fist saluted and looked at Chu Li. Chu Li waved his hand with difficulty. Hai Qingshan leaned over curiously. Chu Li lowered his voice. Don't go too fast. Be careful of being intercepted. I know. Hai Qingshan said. He used his light body technique and dashed away. Soon, he entered the forest. It was not a peaceful journey. They had to guard against the Rin public house's attack. Riding a horse would be too obvious and easily exposed. They had to send the news back as soon as possible and get reinforcements. If the Rin public house attacked again, the lady would be in danger. Zhao Qingshan said, Lady, let's go somewhere else. Xiao nodded slightly. Can Chu Li move, old Gua? Slower. Mulan said, Unfortunately, the carriage was damaged by Chu Li. Chu Li smiled embarrassedly. Mulan stared at him and turned his head. Elder Zhao, hurry up with the carriage. Zhao Qingshan turned around and glided away. Soon, the carriage arrived. The remaining horses were also brought over. The 8 horses ran in 8 different directions to divert the enemy's attention. Chu Li sighed. They were all veterans in the martial arts world. They were experienced. Without the carriage became a flatbed. Chu Li lay on the soft brocade quilt. He closed his eyes and absorbed the spiritual force from all directions to nourish his body. Coupled with the surging heat from his lower abdomen, his body recovered quickly. After walking for an hour, Chu Li suddenly said, Lady, they're here again. The Ren public house. Xiao opened her eyes. She was sitting on Chu Li's left with her eyes closed. Chu Li nodded. Mulan sat on his right and frowned. How did you know? Intuition. Xiao tilted her head and looked at him. Mulan said, Elder Zhao, is someone coming? Zhao Qingshan nodded slowly. We need to find a place to hide. With the lady around, they could not escape. They could only fight. Unfortunately, Hai Qingshan would not be able to make it in time. It was a tough battle. Fortunately, they killed the Grandmaster. Otherwise, they had no chance of winning. There's a cave over there. Chu Li pointed at the mountain next to him. Brother Gua, bring the lady and young Chu Li there. We'll lure them away. Zhao Qingshan turned his head. He could only trust Chu Li now. All right. Mulan nodded helplessly. Chu Li did not want to come up with any ideas. He did not want others to think that he was smart. However, he could not take it anymore. Zhao Qingshan was a grandmaster, but he did not have the talent to deal with a crisis. He coughed lightly. Elder Zhao, if they see that we're not here, they'll definitely send someone to search for us. They'll find us soon. That's true. Zhao Qingshan frowned. With Chu Li's reminder, he knew that his decision was wrong. The 3 of them did not have any power to fight back. If they were found, they would definitely die. It was better to follow him. At least they could protect themselves. Let's go together. Chu Li said. Yes. Zhao Qingshan nodded. Let's go together. Mulan shook his head. Elder Zhao, you're far from being smart. Zhao Qingshan said impatiently. You're not any better. We're the boss, not the second. Xiao looked at Chu Li and said softly, Then let's go up the mountain. Everyone sped up. When the carriage arrived at the foot of the mountain, Mulan carried Chu Li on his back and supported Xiao. Soon, they were halfway up the mountain. They looked around, but did not find any cave. Chu Li pointed on Mulan's back. Over there. Mulan looked over and widened his eyes for a while. There's no cave. I say, young Chu, have you been here before? You'll see it when you peel off the vines. Chu Li said. Zhao Qingshan followed the direction. He pointed and came to the front of the stone wall. The dense vines covered the stone. It was almost impossible to see the color of the stone. He pulled at the dense and thick vines. Suddenly, he stopped and laughed. There really is a cave. I'll go in and have a look. He leaped up and entered the cave. After a while, he popped his head out and waved at the others. Mulin chuckled and said, "Not bad, Chu-Li. There really is." Mulin supported Seosher. There was a layer of sweat on her fair and smooth forehead. Her face was pale. She looked lovely and pitiful. Zhao Qingshan rearranged the vines to cover the cave. They walked for about 10 meters and reached the end. They looked for a place to sit down. "Young Chu, if they really find us, we'll all die." Mulin turned his head and looked around. He shook his head. "It's like catching a turtle in a jar." Chu-Li said, "They won't be able to find us here." "That might not be true." Mulin scoffed. Zhao Qingshan quickly waved his hand, signaling him not to speak. Chu-Li's omniscient mirror saw that there were 14 people at the foot of the mountain. There were 6 grandmasters and 8 innate masters. They followed the traces of the carriage and did not stop. Chu-Li let out a sigh of relief. Under such circumstances, he could only take a gamble. If they found them, it would be a dead end. You're tuning into the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.